we're returning back to earth. Now, first things first, when it comes to this, back in reality, there's no God in marriage. So Mr. Sky Daddy, God, religion, that's all great, but there's no God in marriage. What I'm going to do is expect me arguing from the land of make-believe.
Yeah, but
okay. All right. So anybody have
my turn.
Anybody have the anybody have the sound effect for the television show where the train comes through, Mr. Rogers?
Let me know,
because I want to be on Earth.
Yeah,
all right.
Like I'm sorry, Coach Greg is not even being genuine in this approach. Like, again, there's no reason, and there's no reason. The man has not insulted you at all. He's not been insulting. He's not been condescending, anything of that nature. I think his arguments have been very kind and very straightforward.
Where's your solution then?
I'll tell you again. So I'm glad
he's going to solve the community problems here. I'd love to hear this.
Listen, again, I'm not saying
the black community problems by Andrew Wilson.
That says the guy who literally just got done saying, I have zero prescriptions.
Because nobody does.
Yeah,
that community is here. But I would love to hear the black community solved by Andrew Wilson.
Yeah, so let me tell you a bunch of things that can be done which will help mitigate these issues.
Please do.
The first is
that you can accomplish.
Yeah.
Not some pipe dream.
That can be accomplished.
Here we go.
That can be accomplished politically and already are beginning to be accomplished politically. The first is you have to outlaw.
Grace and peace, everybody. We're back. You saw the thumbnail. You saw the title. Andrew Wilson recently had a debate, heated conversation, spirited discord with one social media personality by the name of Coach Greg. I was interested in it because they were talking about why young people, or rather young men, were not wanting to get married. And of course, because you're going to have to talk about why black men are not wanting to get married and what can we do about it. I thought it was super interesting. I want to hear what you think about it. So jump down in the comments and let me know. We got to go because this is a good one. So let's get at it. Let's get active. Let's go.
If you get married, you may get a divorce. If this happens, then this may happen.
We already looked at the statistics of it likely happening.
Yeah.
So you want to go, in order for your marriage to work, they have to be white, Christian, make money, and then also we live in a certain region.
The black community, you have more divorces than the white community. There's going to be contributing factors for why that is. I don't think that black people are just ontologically different than white people. For the black community, there's a bunch. One, you have a distinction in economic certitude. The second one is you got a massive abortion rate. Another one is you use matriarchal structures in the family home instead of patriarchal. So you have multiple factors here which need to be addressed. I agree with that. Nobody ever disagreed with that, though.
All right, let's get them. Let's go.
Okay, guys, finally getting started. Thanks for being patient. I know there was some delays. We got Andrew here versus Coach Greg Adams, aka the Free Agent Lifestyle. We're going to talk about today, is marriage worth it for men in the West? So let's get into some opening statements. Who wants to start off?
Yeah, man, marriage is a great institution. It was an institution that built the community of America. Most of the better communities that have safety, good children, good schools are typically centered around marriage. However, marriage has not progressed to the point where men can be safe legally. And a lot of men have experienced tremendous damage, collateral damage as a result. And it has led to broken families, a lot of broken hearts, simply because the laws are not positioned to benefit both people in a divorce. Therefore, you have no fault divorce. You have opportunities for women to use the courts against men. And as a result, men have seen 1, 2, and 3 generations of men getting harmed, their grandfathers, their fathers, their uncles, their brothers getting harmed by this. So Generation Z men are not positioning themselves for a positive marriage. So at this particular point, if someone asked me, would I recommend marriage for them, and they were in a certain position in life, they weren't established, I would say no. There's no benefit for the person to get married today.
Got it. Your response, Andrew?
Yeah, I didn't hear any anti-marriage arguments. I heard anti-divorce arguments. So I'm with you on divorce, 100%.
Stream over.
And we're, I guess, I agree. But it's a good thing that the topic isn't on divorce, it's on marriage. And it seems like you agree with my proposition then. And the proposition is that marriage, quote, is a great institution. Yep. And that right now your concern is that men can't be safe in marriage, but that's not actually what you're saying. You're not saying men can't be safe in marriage. They can. You're saying that they may not be safe in divorce. So I have a counter proposition for you. My counter proposition is, what if it's the case that you can use religious marriage institutions without the state? And then we add the ecclesiastical structure of the marriage. That's what always kept them together anyway, before the state was ever involved. So what if instead we use the ecclesiastical church, the structure of the old churches? That would be Catholicism and Orthodoxy, where you see the lowest divorce rates, because the community puts pressure on the women to act right. That's what they do. Right now, the state applies no pressure on women to act right? You can just go and file whatever you want, get a divorce, and go be banging the neighbor by the next night. We totally agree on that. But to say that we should abandon marriage is silly. It seems like you're completely pro-marriage. You're just anti-divorce. So why wouldn't you just throw your weight behind institutions where the divorce rate is the least and you have an ecclesiastical structure which can be appealed to assist with that? That's what makes no sense to me.
Okay. I'm right there with, I am definitely with Andrew on this one for sure. It's interesting. I want to hear, because Coach Greg brings up no religious elements at all to church, to marriage at all. He just brings up, again, he's anti-divorce, whereas Andrew is pro-marriage. I want to see how they go with the religious aspect. I do want to see how that works out. So let's keep it going. Let's go.
My response to that is if we're fifths, we beat all drunk. All right. So that's a scenario that just isn't present.
Can you explain the analogy for me?
Well, if we use if, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. If we say if we have a situation where this is present, then this would work. Well, that makes sense. If we had that,
we do have it right now.
Well, it doesn't necessarily work because, and I'm going to tell you why, because a woman can go to a divorce attorney and they can simply just say, hey, listen, it was a off the cuff, off the state divorce, but you got married within a certain state, or she filed in a certain state. So therefore the divorce goes on.
No.
Absolutely. Yes. Listen, I've been with the divorce attorneys, and what they'll tell you is, hey, listen, you can get married in a ritual. You can get married in the orthodoxy. You can get married off record. But if she files and that woman is hell bent on saying we got married, I don't care if it was a ceremony where we walked on coals with our feet bare, that's considered a marriage. You also have common law. You have a lot of other ways for that woman to establish marriage.
How does your way eliminate common law?
I don't have any way to eliminate common law. So what I have is a way for men to avoid.
Well, then the argument's
use it. No, the argument's not silly. So here's what you have. You have a if proposition, which doesn't exist for most men. Most men aren't religious. Most men aren't looking to be under a religious orthodoxy. So it doesn't apply. So you're taking a moral standard or a religious standard to apply to people who aren't under that veil.
So this is, okay, I'm going to stop. I don't know what Andrew is going to say about this, but I'm going to stop for a second. This is a problem that many people have. Man did not come up with the idea of marriage. We didn't come up with it. It was God's idea. So we can get into the weeds about it, but let's stop pretending like man made it up. Okay, because that's not what happened. And I believe Coach Greg is actually coming from that position. It doesn't matter. I agree with Andrew 100% that if you're saying that, well, most men aren't religious, then that's probably, and you've heard my case before, my argument before, that's the problem. That's a problem that we have. Because we don't just need sinners married. We need persons who are in Christ married, having little people and raising those little people to wash, rinse, and repeat. Let's keep this going on, but I can see how this is going to go south pretty quickly. So let's go.
Start with a couple of things you said, which are fundamentally untrue. Most men are religious, in fact, including in this country. Most of them, not some of them,
but they're not religious.
Hang on. I didn't interrupt.
I understand, but maybe just take that point. Most aren't under your religion.
Okay.
You can agree with that.
So here's the thing, though, but Catholicism and Orthodoxy is growing rapidly. And if it's the case that the ecclesiastical structure is already there, which it is, right? If you're going to cohabitate with a woman, the thing that you're offering right now is common law marriage anyway. If there's cohabitation at all, you're not protecting anybody from that. At least under my model, it gives an ecclesiastical structure that's designed to prevent divorce by applying community pressure. That was the way it was always done. Apply the application of community pressure within the confines of the woman's social circle. Right now, do you agree with me, for instance, that many divorces happen because women like to yap? So you get a freshly divorced woman and she's free. You go, girl power. And she starts talking to her little friends and she starts telling them how liberating it is and how great it is and this and that. And this is why when women have divorced friends, their likelihood of divorce actually rapidly increases. It's for this reason. Divorce is contagious. So if it's the case that this social contagion is eliminated because now we have an ecclesiastical structure, an ecclesiastical authority, which won't grant it because you get ostracized from that social group through excommunication, for instance, or not being able to participate anymore with that community, that's an application of a serious and significant social pressure, which can do the very thing you want. Bring back that great institution, absent the state, and it avoids this whole problem of common law marriage. Because if it's the case that you can be common law married anyway inside of a state, and they can, get grounds for divorce on that anyway, then we actually need to have some social pressures to prevent them from doing that. So it sounds like we agree marriage is awesome for men. Divorce is terrible for them. So it seems like we should be attacking the divorce structure here. And it doesn't seem like you actually have anything to do that other than just avoid the thing that's great for you because this other bad side
Bad
effect
thing
could
can
happen.
happen.
Sure. That's
So
like
why don't we-
smoking cigarettes.
So why don't we attack the bad side effect when we have the mechanism to do it? It's not if, we can do it now.
Okay.
Right
So
this
like
second.
smoking cigarettes is the same analogy you're saying. Okay. Here.
Okay. I mean, Andrew is cooking right here. This analogy right here, I can tell already is gonna, because that's not what he's talking about. So let's bring it in. Let's go.
Cigarettes in this situation, we obviously know it has negative side effects. So you would avoid
No.
it. Now, here's the
Smoking cigarettes has no upside, though. That's the thing. There is no upside to it. So it's not just that it has negative outcomes. It's negative, even if it's negative from beginning to end. Like there's no good benefit for smoking cigarettes. There is no benefit, rather, for smoking cigarettes at all. So I don't know, Coach Greg. That was a bad one.
the issue that I have with it. It sounds great on paper, but we can't travel to the land of make believe. It sounds great. The majority of people probably wouldn't do it. And if you ask a guy, which this is an important part, they're not even prepared to even talk about that. They don't even know what divorce laws are. So you're asking them to travel to the land of make believe under a marriage system that small percentage of people use. No one uses it today. You might have said they used it to the past. Today, that doesn't exist. So we can't travel to the land of make believe to make marriage work for you. It might work in your marriage, but it doesn't work for the greater structure.
Your argument here contradicts itself, because on the one hand, you say men don't know enough about marriage, but my assumption is that your mission is to let men know about marriage.
Absolutely.
Okay, well then I don't understand how it's the land of make believe if you can let them know about this, but I can't.
Sure.
Right. So
you can offer that.
So if I am, it sounds like I'm offering a real alternative to what you're offering. And here's what you're offering. Men, marriage is great. It's a great institution. It's the best for children. These are your words. In marriage, right? Men seem to thrive. Their health seems to thrive. Everything seems to thrive. You're saying, well, the problem is that divorce rates are high, and they are. However, there's a few things there that you haven't covered. One, it depends on demographic too. For instance, if you're black, it's going to be way worse than if you're white.
Correct.
Okay, way worse. And also socioeconomics matters, right? Demographics in general matter. So you can do a lot, actually, including prenuptial agreements. You can have a prenuptial agreement with the ecclesiastical authority without the state even involved. And it seems like that would mitigate your risk to damn near nothing.
You said if about 50 times
So did
today.
you.
Now, here's what I'm telling you.
You know what? I might actually agree with that. If we just, I've never been pro prenuptial agreements, but seeing how it is weaponized, I do agree. Divorce is weaponized against men. That would probably do away with that. If that was on the table from the beginning, and you didn't have states like Tennessee that would completely decimate even a prenuptial agreement. I mean, Andrew's plan works perfectly. And it's not a make-believe. That's the thing I don't think that Brother Greg is thinking about. But more than that, what are the benefits of marriage that Greg appreciates? I don't think he's only talked about the negatives of it, not the benefits of not being divorced. And Andrew seems to be very balanced in that. Let's go.
Telling you when, all right, we're already in this system. You're going outside of the system to create a scenario for me to argue.
What system are you going outside of?
Talking about marriage is typically done with the state. Almost everyone does it this way.
If
so now
hold on
for a second. You've moved the goalposts to a scenario of if. And you're arguing from the if. Hold on for a second. You're arguing from the if perspective.
It is perspective.
No, listen.
It is.
Give me a chance to listen.
All right,
give me a chance.
Go ahead.
You're arguing from a very small percentage point. Now you're saying demographics, and we can talk about that, but you're still trying to get me to argue in your cloud of if. That's the land of make believe. Most people by far are married to the state. Not only that, your land of make believe still exists, the prenup with the ecclesiastics. You can write whatever you want in that prenup. It only matters in the divorce. That's the reality. So I'm still dealing in reality. You're in the clouds.
So why not talk about the benefits of marriage, though? If you're going to continue to hammer divorce, I married my wife 25 years ago. We said in the beginning, and we've been holding fast to it, we don't use that word in our house. And we definitely don't use that word against one another. That's worked out perfectly for us. We said that early on, we'll never use that word, bada boom, bada bing. Let's go ahead and let's have fun. And we've been enjoying being married. I'm not worried about I'm not worried if maybe she changes her mind about it now. That's not, I mean, I've seen the benefits of marriage. I believe she's seen the benefits of marriage. Our children have seen the benefits of marriage. Our families have seen the blessing of our marriage, lasting as long as it has. I don't see, why are we focused on the negative though, Coach Greg?
For a second, you're in the clouds. So let's take the demographics.
Okay.
In your scenario, it sounds like, which would be fair, your primary concern is with white people.
No.
Hold on for a second. You said with black people, the demographics, the chance is higher.
Yeah.
So have you discovered the Ecclesiastics approach to black people married within this?
Yes.
However, their demographics, economics, which all do affect marriage, has nothing to do in the land of the clouds or the make-believe with Ecclesiastics. It's all going to boil down to in the law. And there's no church reverend that's going to go into your household to make sure there's social pressure on your wife. Do you know any?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you know any that can cover all marriages? That answer is no.
Yes. And by the way, when you keep,
are we in reality here?
I'm trying.
The clouds. I mean, we're not arguing anything. But this is in the land of make believe.
Well, when I'm allowed,
I don't like. Look, I could disagree with you. He could disagree with him, and I think Coach Greg has a valid reason to disagree. But to dismiss him and just try to insult him and call him make believe, and if ifs were fifths, we'd all be drunk, and this, that, and the other. To me, I think that is not being fair. He's being disingenuous. And I think he's trying to stoke more animosity than we don't want it. We don't need it. We're trying to have a good, valid conversation about why young men this day don't want to get married. Like, come on.
Okay, give me a second. Let me finish this point.
Go ahead.
You're imagining, your imagination is great. John Lennon would be great. You know, you would be proud of you at this particular point.
But I'm imagining all the people.
You're imagining all the people under a situation and a structure that you brought in here. All right. But the state highly governs this, and the state highly governs divorce. I'm dealing in a reality situation where I'm trying to counsel men to give information to. The best thing you've told me is that you're willing to give men the option to do this. Are they willing to all do this option? The answer is probably not, just like they're not willing to do what I'm telling them to do. However, we're both attempting, which is a good thing. It's noble. However, your situation rarely exists. Can we talk about the reality of what exists?
Sure.
Absolutely. So let's take your moral religious crusade out of it and talk about the reality.
Yeah,
Are you willing to do that?
Yeah, well, here's the thing.
See, you're not willing to do that because it's all based on your reality.
Guess what? It's a debate, and I will argue my points from my view, how I see fit. It's not for you to go.
What I'm not going to do is expect me arguing from the land of make believe.
Yeah, but
okay. All right. So anybody have
my turn?
I have the anybody have the sound effect for the television show where the train comes through, Mr. Rogers?
Let me know
because I want to be on. I want to be on Earth.
Yeah,
all right.
Like I'm sorry, Coach Greg is not even being genuine in this approach. Like, again, there's no reason, and there's no reason. The man has not insulted you at all. He's not been insulting. He's not been condescending, anything of that nature. I think his arguments have been very kind and very straightforward. Yeah, this is not a good look for Coach Greg, man. I'm sorry.
Let Andrew respond.
Yeah, so the thing is it's funny that you bring up Imagine All the People of John Lennon, which is an anti-religious song. Right. And hilariously enough, was designed to assist with female empowerment. Isn't that hilarious? But the thing here is you keep on saying that what I'm offering is make-believe, but it's not. It's been governing the Orthodox and Catholic Church for 2,000 years, including in this country. Now, here, let me give you an example, for instance, the Amish, right? Do you know what the divorce rate is among them? It's almost non-existent, yet they're still governed by the same laws of the land that you're speaking to. So it sounds like if I give a counter, if I say, look, I can give you a way, a methodology in which you can utilize the religious ecclesiastical institution, which has existed for 2,000 years and has right now the lowest divorce rates, right this second as we speak, not in make-believe land, not hundreds of years in the future, right this second, as opposed to the system you have of common law divorce, which is sky high and you can't do anything about it. That's what is true. So pointing out what is true is right now you can have a prenup. That is true. What is true is prenups are usually held up in court. That is true. What is true is that you can have a marriage outside of a state because it's a religious institution anyway. You never have to have a license with the state. It's never been necessary. And if you do, the only way that that can be done is if it's sacramental. And if it's sacramental, it's governed now by the church. That's going to be the community the women are a part of. And so the thing is like, that sounds like a real viable solution. What's yours? More fucking degeneracy? Go out and play the field, hump a lot of chicks? How's that going to help anybody do anything? That's been the progressive mantra for 100 years. Isn't it wonderful?
Okay. I got it. All right. Andrew's a little bit torqued off. Shout out to brother Andrew. Shout out to Coach Greg. I think Andrew started down the street, but then didn't go down it far enough. Talk about the benefits, because remember, this whole debate is about the benefits, why young men are not getting married. You got to get married and have a divorce. So what they're arguing about is, chapter 5, not chapter 1. These brothers, the argument should be how to get brothers to pick up a book and read it, not what to do when they get to chapter 6, because they ain't got there yet. So I think when he started talking about the Amish, I think he should have said, like, hey, their divorce rate is non-existent, but these are the benefits that they've reaped from that. Happy families and this, that, and the other, and doing, like being able to show the benefits, which you can't point out as an individual. I'm sorry, you can't enjoy as an individual. I think that's where he messed up. But let's see what Coach Greg has to say.
Your turn.
All right, we're turning back to earth. Now, first things first, when it comes to this, back in reality, there's no God in marriage. So Mr. Sky Daddy, God, religion, that's all great, but there's no God in marriage. At this particular point, when you go through a marriage, if one person decides to not obey the Holy Bible or whatever you're thumping, you have no basis to keep that marriage together. If she decides to leave the church and decides not to listen or excommunicate herself, she's now under the state.
Agree.
Now, when you're getting divorced, which I'm assuming you've been divorced.
Well, I mean, that's a hell of an assumption, Bake.
Have you been divorced?
I mean,
have you been married?
Can you tell me, if you can tell me how that has any merit?
Give me a second, because if you've been through one, you would know that there's no God in the divorce court, in the family court. There's no God in there. No one asked.
There is the state in there.
There is the state. So that's what we're arguing for.
Yeah,
that's when you get married. So you're telling me if, and I'm telling you, well, this is what's going to happen. Even if you took Sky Daddy into court with you, they would say, you pray to the judge. The judge is the authority in the court. So the God argument is a nice, interesting argument. And I probably am not going to say on the conversation very long, because that's your God. That's your Sky Daddy. That's your religion. I have a different religion. So who gives you who gives you the authority to change the understanding, the conversation to your religion? That's your religion.
I'm not changing the conversation.
Okay, so it only works if it only works if you believe in your Sky Daddy. That's the only way it works, and that's the only way you're going to advise.
Okay, I now know why I've never listened to Coach Greg. This is some condescending. This is not a very even keel at all. He's just insulting. I can see why. I know why I've never watched one of his debates. I know why now.
Men, we're talking about mitigating risk.
No. We're talking about, can men get into a marriage today only under your Sky Daddy? That's what we're assuming.
Okay.
Now, can they do it otherwise?
Yeah, you can have secular marriage.
Okay, go ahead and explain.
Okay, yeah,
make it work.
I just did. So
make it work.
The argument that you have is that marriage is great. It's a great institution.
We already covered this.
Well, what made it great?
No, we already covered
what
this.
made it great?
No,
can we go into why it would make it work for your secular? That's the question I asked you. You're asking me questions back. Go ahead and answer this.
He's never told us what made it great, though. Andrew, I think Andrew's going back down my Amish street now. Andrew's going down the street that I want him to go down. Coach Greg has never said why marriage was great. He just said it. He just said it as, as a eulogy, but he's never talked about what were the details.
So if you're talking about secular marriage, there's never been any point to it.
I'm sorry.
There's never been any point to secular marriage ever. Never. What would ever be the point of secular marriage? It's always been a religious institution. That's what made it great. Now, when you say it's a great institution, what made it great for secularists, other than the fact that Sky Daddy and God had all these enforcement arms, and those things had to be enforced socially? Like, for instance, men weren't allowed to run away. And women, right, they had to show cause for these divorces. And they had to be good causes. They had to show it for things like infidelity, right? It was all biblically governed. It was all lawfully governed by this Sky Daddy guy you like so little. But that's what made the institution great in the first place. And what you're talking about here, you're making a point that divorce is bad. And yet, I agree, divorce is bad. So what we're really talking about is, how do we mitigate the risk for divorce? And we have two different methods here.
Well, the conversation, marriage good for men. That's the conversation.
But it is. We already said it's good for men. That's not even a dispute.
And now, how do we make it better, since they're avoiding?
Well, it sounds
men or women are avoiding it.
It sounds like the thing that you think makes it bad is divorce, not marriage.
Correct.
Then we need to mitigate divorce.
We're 15 minutes in, and we are in the land of reality. You finally called up. Can you tell me how we can get to the secular marriage? I mean, I've given you a chance. So, you're dragging your.
So again, secular. There's never been any point to secular marriage ever.
Now listen, marriage is for child creation. It would be great for child communities and all of these things. And now listen, by the time the religious aspects got in the marriage, they were chopping people's heads off and burning Bibles. So listen, I know we want to take it back to the past and act like the past was better, but there's always a negative part of the past. If you go back and you look at the English, this has all been there. People were getting their heads chopped off. The Crusaders were doing their things across countries, and they were spreading Christianity through threats and violence. Now, that's what you're trying to uplift. That's what you're trying to uphold.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
You wouldn't know what I'm talking about. That's where you're lacking.
I have no idea.
Catch up. You're sitting in the
What does Crusades have to do with divorce?
That was when your holy marriage was the best marriage that you're trying to go to. Now, listen.
In the 1950s? Were we crusading in the 1950s?
No.
Okay, this is interesting, because in a moment, notice where Coach Greg was talking. Coach Greg was talking about sometime in the past. I have no clue what he was talking about. Watch what happens when Andrew brings it forward and says, what about the 40s? Like, let's just stay in the 40s, because none of us were, that's a reasonable amount of time, less than 100 years. Watch what happens. And this is a head scratcher. I have no idea why Coach Greg did this.
What the hell are you talking about?
You talked about the institution of marriage for 2,000 years.
Yeah.
Sir, do you need me to catch you up on what you're talking about? You're having trouble keeping up with me. You're having trouble keeping up with me. You said 2,000 years ago.
Truly,
and I told you 2,000 years ago, they were chopping people's heads off.
Which has what to do with anything?
I need you to catch up with me, sir.
Okay.
If you want to take things back to the past, you have to accept everything as the past. You can't just cherry pick. Wow, here's the thing. You're cherry picking. If you want to take things back to the tradition, take it all the way back. Why stop at the 50s? Take it back to the 1890s.
What you're saying right now is so incoherent. I actually don't even understand.
Well, that's what, listen, when you're running out of bullets, the last thing you do is the shame. All right.
I'm not even trying to shame you. It's just incoherent.
I need you to catch up with me.
Okay, catch me up.
Just say you're lacking if you can't keep it up.
It's
all right.
Now it's incoherent.
Here's the problem. Here's the problem.
I don't know what to tell you.
Here's the problem you're having.
2,000 years ago, they were chopping heads off. Who gives a shit? What does that mean?
You said 2,000 years ago. I'm coming up with yours. You're wholly religious 2,000 years ago.
But no, we don't have to talk about 2,000 years ago. And I think ultimately, in my opinion, Coach Greg does not want to deal with the fact that secular marriage has failed. And he does not have a solution for that problem. Everybody knows that married people do better, okay, whether it be financially, emotionally, physically, health-wise, fill in the blank, they do better. Coach Greg doesn't have a solution to that problem that doesn't have a modern secular solution to that problem. Andrew is giving a religious solution to the problem, and Coach Greg doesn't like that. That's what the problem is. This is this is not a good look for him.
It's been a part of
what does that have to do with this?
Exactly. Here's the problem. You're cherry picking.
Cherry picking what?
Listen,
I'm listening.
I'm gonna slow you down. I'm going to slow you down because I see what you're doing here. I'm going to slow you down.
Okay.
Because it's hard for you to keep up.
It is.
I understand. I understand because you haven't been across. This is your toughest debate. Your audience knows this.
Oh, it's rough.
There's no God in marriage.
Okay.
In the United States.
Yeah.
Can we agree to that? When you get to divorce, there's no God in marriage.
I can't agree to that.
We need to agree to it because when you go into divorce court,
he said there's no God in marriage. That's not true. And there is God in divorce court. That's the problem. We just thumb our nose at God, and that's what got us to divorce court. No, sir. Bless his heart.
No God. Yeah, we can't bring in your God and your Bible. And at that particular point, none of your ecclesiastics marriage works.
Okay.
Period.
So the thing is, you just said, can we agree that there's no God in marriage? And then
we don't have to agree.
But hang on, calm down. And then you switched over to divorce. There's no God in divorce. But those are two different questions and proposition. Hang on, relax. The second thing is that me saying that what made marriage a great institution is this whole Sky Daddy character. And that the institution has been in place for 2,000 years and has been, hang on, calm down. And it's been a strong institution. I'm not actually sure how tying in that at the time they cut people's heads off, what that has to do with the fact that in the 1950s and 40s, you still had 95% of these marriages staying together. This is not ancient history. This is not even early American history. That's in your grandfather's lifetime, basically. And then, by the way, that was the case for black marriages as well. Very strong institutions. But all of those institutions were that way because they followed that whole Sky Daddy thing. Correct. They were like, oh, that Sky Daddy's going to smite us if we don't. And so what you do here is you're giving the classic progressive argument, which is, well, you know, guys, it is true that it's a great institution, and it is true it's the best place in the world to have children for the continuation of the species. And also, it's fantastic for men's health. It's fantastic for their mental health. It's great for them in almost every way. But that divorce thing is real bad. And I counter. You're right. That divorce thing is real bad. We have now a center of agreement. But now we're going back to the marriage in the West thing, which is that whole great institution problem. Well, if we agree that what made it good, which you just did, is, hey, that Sky Daddy guy. And then I point out that right now, you can still utilize that Sky Daddy guy for an ecclesiastical marriage outside of the state. Hang on. And the only thing you could do is say, what about common law? But you can't govern anybody from common law. And at least in the ecclesiastical institution, you have social pressures on women to stay married. You can't offer a man anything like that. Give me a single social pressure you can offer that would actually keep these marriages together. One. What? Just one.
I'm going to also add, and this is where I disagree with Andrew. I don't think we need an ecclesiastical structure to keep women in line. We need the gospel to keep humans at the foot of the cross. That's what the problem is. It's not all the marriage. Divorce is not only solely a female problem. Now, sure, absolutely. More women file for divorce. No argument there. What I am saying, however, is there's some things that happened before then that both parties are equally accountable for. And I believe that the gospel helps with that problem. That's where I disagree with Andrew. I don't think it's just a church structure situation. I think it's a heart temperature situation where your heart has been transformed. Your cold, dead heart is made alive in Christ. Therein is the problem. That's what I think they're missing.
Can I answer something
Yeah.
you just said? This would be interesting.
I can't
because
wait.
You said,
but can you answer that question? Then
no, before.
Oh, of
the
course.
1940s.
You gotta ask me a question.
Because listen, I'm listening to you. You asked the question at the end. If you would have asked it at the beginning, possibly I might have been able to address it. But let me address this point.
Okay.
You said the 1940s and 1950s with this imaginary sky daddy controlling marriages. That sounds like enforcement, because by the time the 1970s came around, the very first chance women got to file a no-fault divorce without need for evidence, without need to have a private investigator to prove an affair.
Was no fault the 70s?
Yes, it was the 70s, started by Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
I'll educate you.
But hang on.
Came along. Hold on for a second. No. I got the floor here. I got the floor. So you said the religious institutions governed it and made it great. The 1970s came along, and as soon as they did, women started to file divorces at record rates, which is back to my conversation. Soon as you remove the authority of Sky Daddy, now you're back with the state. And now you have difficulty, and now the risk is now greater.
Oh.
So that's the issue.
And it sounds like men should be moving towards Sky Daddy then, because it mitigates their risk.
The courts, the nation should.
There's no courts.
Well, how do you enforce that?
What court? What courts? You're not getting a marriage from the state. What courts are involved here?
Everything you told me is a make-believe scenario.
How?
Make-believe.
You can do it right now. How is it make-believe?
How do you do that when people,
Here's
the
what
marriages do state? I know you want to go back to Ecclesiastics.
Why do you
This is
want
going to be
you can do it right this second.
Okay,
You can go do it right now.
You can do it at this particular
You can't
point.
do.
However,
What do you mean?
here's the problem.
Okay.
Can you get men to do it?
Yes.
Okay, you might be able to think you can get men to do it, but as soon as they do it, I want you to stick around for the average of 8 to 10 years. When these men start getting divorced, see, what you're doing is you're leading.
We've been watching it for longer.
You're going to lead men into a burning building. And the reason why, and this is a famous quote by Martin Luther King, is because the laws of integration didn't catch up fast enough for what he wanted for people to integrate. And what happened was it took him 12 to 15 years to realize that he led men or black people into a burning building in which integration was not possible at the time. Okay. You are also proposing the same thing. And I would like for you to stick around to see the results of what.
No. Andrew is saying, remember, Coach Greg said that marriage was a wonderful institution. Andrew is staying right there talking about it's wonderful and we need to encourage more people to do it and set up a structure. I think, sadly, Coach Greg has made this about a pro-divorce debate when nobody is debating that. Nobody's arguing that. He should, and I think, and hopefully they will, bring Coach Greg's feet to the fire and say, tell me what made marriage great.
You're proposing, because eventually you would have to pay the price. How did Martin Luther King pay the price? You would have to pay the price for the men that you misled.
So Martin Luther misled men, and that's why he was killed?
I said he misled black people. You missed that part. He said, okay, let me repeat it, because you're slow. All right, you definitely are slow, Neanderthal.
For sure.
Let me tell you something.
I'm dragging
Martin Luther King said specifically, related to black people and civil rights, I'll speak slowly for you, that he believed at the end, he led them into a burning building. I'm going to speak slower. The reason why is because the laws of integration did not catch up with what he would like to present. Black people weren't ready to integrate. As a result, he said, I may have led my people, that means his people, into a burning building.
Okay.
I would like for you, under your scenario, if your movement takes off, to see the results, because it took Martin Luther King 12, 15 years to see the results of his efforts. You're proposing something very extreme that majority of people aren't going to do. But let's just say because you like to hide in the clouds of make-believe, if
they did.
This works,
right?
I would love to see you represent these men in a divorce when they get their head bit off by these so-called women that are forced by Sky Daddy to stay in these marriages.
This is really, I don't even understand how.
You don't understand. I know you have a hard time understanding.
I don't actually even understand how to respond to a lot of this because it's so incoherent. But I'm going to try anyway.
Yeah, see, this is always incoherent when he understands. Perhaps you don't understand.
So okay, Andrew is snarky as well, but man, I must say this slow because you're a Neanderthal. Wow, man, Coach Greg, that's some low tier. I thought this was going to be an intellectual discussion. This is just a low tier insult fest. Like, this is a low broil roast. This is bad.
That might be what it is. And it's okay to say you don't understand. And I can speak slowly.
I don't understand now, but I'm going to tell you why.
Of course, dismissive. I mean, I'm
going to tell you why.
Okay, when you're losing, just say you're losing, and I can speak.
Let me know when I can talk and you gas out.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So here's
typical tactic. But you can work that against these OnlyFans girls. Hey,
go ahead.
You can work that tactic against those OnlyFans girls that you debate. debating 23-year-old ignorant women.
They're smarter than you.
But now
They're
you're
smarter
sitting
than you.
across from a person.
They're always smarter than you.
Yeah, you're sitting across from a person here
Oh no.
that's looking at a Neanderthal, say you don't understand something very
Well, let me
simple.
know when you guess that.
This
so I
is the
can respond.
simplest thing that you can understand.
Okay.
Your go. Your go.
Are you sure? I
Please.
can actually do it this
And
time.
please, put me to sleep.
Okay, so
Put me to sleep.
here's why it's incoherent, and there's a bunch of this I don't understand. You keep on saying that these men are going to get divorced, and yet I'm proposing non-state marriages. How are they going to get divorced? Well, you can only say then via common law. But again, you have no defense yourself against
These are if scenarios.
I don't.
I mean,
I don't. I don't.
I don't. Said I was going to debate somebody that's going to come.
Why do you
This
keep
is a if
filibustering?
scenario.
Are you?
Give me a real scenario.
I let you
please.
speak the entire time.
Give me something to speak about.
Okay,
You're giving
I'm
me
not
a
asking
scenario.
you to speak, man.
You're trying to invite me to your church.
I'm
not going to your church. Please give me a real scenario.
You're trying to institute me into your church? Yo, man, this is some low dude. Like this could have been a very good, positive conversation. I will admit.
have to shut up long enough for me to
Come
do
on,
it.
please. I've been here 30 minutes waiting for you to do it.
All right.
Give me a
So,
real scenario.
okay. So what I don't understand here, again, and I'm going to ask again, in your incoherent worldview,
Okay, please.
you keep on saying that these men who I propose this to are going to get divorced, but I'm not proposing that they get married through the state. The state's the one who does the divorces. So the only thing you could say is that there's a potential for common law here, but that's something you yourself cannot guard them from by your own admission. The second problem that we have here is that I don't have to stick around for 10 or 15 years because we can look at the numbers right now in religious marriage for what this looks like. And here's what this looks like. If you're a Catholic, you're way less likely to get divorced. And if you're Orthodox, even less likely to get divorced. And it's because of that ecclesiastical structure. You're not ever going to be able to prevent all risk from divorce, not under anything.
Thank God. That's
Not-
that's the most realistic
Not
thing
under
you've said all
any,
day.
but not under any system
Correct.
is that going to be the case.
But
And
why
even-
are Catholics getting divorced?
and
How
even
do they get
wanted to.
divorced?
They get annulment.
Okay, he doesn't. Coach Greg, I don't know what his religious ideology is. I think I'm clearly picking it up, but he is really torqued off about this approach that the solution to the problem is religion. He doesn't like that.
They don't even get divorces.
Okay,
and it's
but how
a
does it-
really long
So
process, and it's rare.
Christians have a similar divorce rate than the secular.
No.
So they have a very close. So how do they get divorced?
I'm going to
How do
explain.
Christians get
Tom,
divorced?
I'll answer
Please,
your question.
please tell me.
So-
Because I know how to get divorced.
so if
Right
you
into
say-
the divorce court.
Yeah, I know. So because they call it a state
Wow.
marriage.
Right.
Yeah, and I'm proposing that they don't do that, right?
Okay, a land of make believe. If
How's that a man land of
If-
make believe? You can go fucking do it right now.
tell me
What are you talking about?
What percentage of people do this particular thing that you're doing, that you're proposing?
Why
What
would that
percent-
matter? Let's say
Why
it's
does it
one
matter?
person.
Okay,
Why would that
it's
matter?
one person. So you're taking a very small chance. You're arguing against me that has millions of people on my
Who are
side.
getting
and
divorced and
millions-
you don't want
But you're
them to.
telling me a small 20 people in a little house on the prairie
Yeah.
that do these, that you govern people without electricity and,
Okay.
and you riding horse and carriages.
Yeah.
You're telling me this small percentage of people
Uh-huh.
are going to lead a movement of doing something you're proposing here on YouTube. This is going, how many people are doing this?
Okay. Why would
How
that
many people-
matter?
It would matter because
Why?
then we can use some data to determine,
We
do
have
these
data.
people end up in divorce?
Well, we can
More
do it.
than likely.
This is great
Please
because
do.
we can look at the data. So
I
let's
would
look
love
at.
to,
Or
please.
do you want to look at the Catholic data and Orthodox
No,
data
no, no,
for
no, no.
marriage?
We're talking about your ecclesiastic proposal.
That's
That's what
what
we're
we're
talking about.
This is
Okay,
the ecclesiastical
If we're
proposal.
using Catholic and Christians, their divorce rate tends to be very close.
No,
It's
I'll look it up.
It's very close. Let's
not
find it. Look it
Catholic.
up. Hold up.
What do you want me-
Self-ID'd Christians.
Okay,
Self-ID'd Christians.
Okay.
Self-ID.
ID. No. Let's just put
Yeah, like-
Christians.
Christian.
Like,
He's
let's-
like,
Christian and
Like again, Andrew, stop arguing for divorce. Argue about why marriage is beneficial and why we are because Greg said that Andrew's going to regret in 10, 15 years men who followed after his ideas. No, sir, you're going to have men who are miserable and society that is collapsing because God instituted marriage. I do think that both of them, their view of marriage isn't high enough. They don't look up enough because they should look to Christ. Both of them should be looking to Christ, not even to the church, definitely not to the state, but they should be looking up to Christ because he is the one that instituted marriage. And therein is your success in this argument, is that marriage is this important for this reason.
You have to define. You have to tell me what a Christian.
He likes to dice up all of these people. And listen. I would love to go to your church one day. I would be a wonderful guest, and I would love to thump the Bible, and I would love to say a prayer with you. However,
he's mad about
this conversation is entering.
Can we pull up my screen?
Very much a Sky Daddy conversation. Which
All right, we got it.
It's about belief.
Brought up Sky Daddy. You
brought it up.
We got the divorce rate pulled up right here.
That's not
brought that up.
What is that?
That is a religious argument.
If you're an
with
atheist, you should be able to contend with that.
A lot of people would not want to do that. You're telling me a small percentage.
Who cares? We're talking about mitigating the rates of divorce. It doesn't matter how many do it.
Move forward from this one. We agree to disagree.
No, we don't agree to disagree. I need counter argument.
Your land to make
I want counter argument.
I'm not going to argue in your land to make believe.
Yeah, because you can't. You have no counter argument.
Ridiculous.
You don't have one counter argument.
Here's a counter argument.
Okay, what is it?
There's no God in marriage. How many times do I have to say that?
That's an assertion. It's not an argument.
If you end up in divorce court, God doesn't matter. None of this matters. That's real. That's the realest argument that you can possibly hear.
How do you end up in a divorce court without the state?
Hold on for a second. Hold on for a second. I'm going to tell you how.
Okay.
In the 1940s, which you so love, I don't know why you don't live there. You look like you live there. You're dressed like you live there. Here's the problem. Hold on for a second. Hold on for a second. Here's the problem.
Okay.
These people, under your authoritative godly marriage, still got divorced at high rates. Once no fault divorce showed up, it started at 25%. Then by the time you get here, it's close to 40 and 50%.
Okay, I think I see what the problem is. There's a combination of religious affiliation and the lack of no fault divorce in the 40s, 50s. That's what they're missing. It wasn't just everybody was a part of a church. And it wasn't just because we don't have no fault divorce. No, there was a combination of those two that worked together in harmony that made marriage is great. The problem is Greg doesn't realize that, and Andrew hasn't expressed that. That's what I think needs to happen.
Still prevalent. I'm giving you the reality.
That's
here.
not the reality.
You're trying to drag me back over here to Little House on the Prairie. It's not working. It's not going to work with me. How about this?
How about a counter
traditional marriage? I gave you one.
What?
I mean, come on, man.
What is the counter argument? Come on, man. It's not a counter argument. What's the counter argument?
There's no God in marriage, and
that's an assertion, not an argument.
God in divorce court.
God's not an argument.
That there's no
okay.
God
Well, there
in
is a God in divorce court. Argument defeated.
Exactly.
Argument defeated.
Oh my goodness, boy. All right. Did you need your sandbox outside? Did you miss your turn?
It's just ridiculous.
Like, here's a problem.
I want an argument.
This is the absolute argument.
Okay.
You're trying to drag me to church. I'm taking you outside of church. You can't combat it because you want to battle inside the church. I'm not letting you. So let's get back to.
You're not letting them talk. It's not even that you're not letting them battle it in church. You're not even letting them talk. I'm sorry. This is not a good debate.
You risk get married.
Let's get back to the state.
What do you mean?
And that divorce rate. Did you find out the numbers?
Yeah, I pulled it up earlier, but I'll pull it up again. It's up on the screen. Can you guys see this? Catholic, 19 to 25%. Mainline Protestant, 30 to 35%. Evangelical, 26 to 33.
That's up there.
Now,
that's up there. 40.
Orthodox.
33, 34, 30. That's pretty high.
Orthodox divorce rate. Let's see.
17 to 20.
I see average 33%.
That's U.S.
average.
Evangelical Protestants. That's with the coalition of all of them.
Ever divorced 17 to 20. U.S. average 33%.
Yeah, so they're much lower.
It says in the U.S. 33%.
No, that's the
Orthodox. That's ever divorced. That's worldwide.
Yeah, they're much lower rates.
Okay, but you're saying that they can't get divorced. That's what you said.
It was going to be lower.
Bro. You said, is that what you said?
The whole point said they would be lower. He said that they would be lower. Again, I don't agree with Orthodox and Catholics being the standard, but that's what he said. And because Greg is not listening, and I mean, literally, he's just speaking over the man. I mean, this sounds like a lunchroom debate, in my opinion. Yeah, let's go.
Do we mitigate the risk of divorce? You can't ever completely mitigate it. It can't ever be completely mitigated, but you can mitigate the risk of divorce.
Okay, great.
It is lower.
Much lower. Much lower.
Okay, all right. So a chance of getting hit 30% versus 44%. This doesn't defeat the argument.
I want to know what's the benefit of it, though, Greg.
argument. Those
It does defeat
divorces,
the argument.
those divorces happen in the court of law because no divorce cannot be reported in that's not the court of law.
Actually,
so what is the divorce that happens outside of the court of law? If it's 33% in the court of law with your orthodox ecclesiastic marriage, what is it outside?
Even
what is
lower.
it within that?
It's even lower.
Okay, so add that 10%.
Yes. No,
now we're at 40%.
You wouldn't add that. You wouldn't add 10%.
That's the legal divorce.
What are you talking about?
Hold on for a second. When you say a divorce, those are reported divorces legally. That means these people filed in the legal reported system. That's 30+%.
Why are we arguing?
You said there would be more that were outside of the door.
No, less.
Outside of the state.
Less.
No,
hold on for a second.
Less.
There's additional outside of the marriage, outside of the state.
No.
Oh, there's none?
Well,
so you're saying there's zero.
Not really.
What are you saying?
Okay, so let me explain.
Please.
So that you understand.
Additional to the 33%.
Yeah, but you have to, can you at least let me finish this time?
Please do it because you're slow.
So if it's the case you're in an ecclesiastical marriage, you're still adding usually the state. These people are all adding the state, okay? The Catholics themselves, if you were to look at their annulments rate from the ecclesiastical authority, it's actually much lower than even the percentage that you're getting from the state because they add the state in, which means some people will ignore the ecclesiastical authority and get divorced anyway.
That's exactly what I've been telling you.
Nobody ever argued that.
Exactly. But so
the argument is not about divorce, though. The argument should be what do we need to do to get more men to be married? And it's odd to watch a black man arguing against marriage when and so many of our children are born to single parent homes, predominantly single mom homes. Like, dude, what in the world? What is he missing?
About mitigating the risk. Mitigating the risk.
Still a risk.
No, it would mitigate the risk.
So the risk is slightly lower.
Much lower.
Okay, that's not that much lower.
It's much lower.
40%. You're talking about 33%.
What do you want it to be, Greg?
No, we're not. We're talking about 20% to 35 to 40%.
Okay, so that's lower.
Yes.
Okay, that's all you got. Now, here's
that's all I need.
What do you have?
That's not all you need because there's still risk. How do you?
Nobody said there wouldn't be risk.
Exactly.
You can't mitigate risk for anything 100%. It's not possible.
Exactly. So now why are we telling men to get married?
Because you have to, because everything is a cost benefit analysis. Your issue is not marriage. Your issue is with mitigating the risk.
At this point, it's not marriage. This is the only hold on for a second. Can I say this?
Oh my God.
Can you
ever stop saying something so I can say something?
At this particular point.
Okay.
You're telling me from this point, we haven't even got to the entire marriage because you're still over in the land of make-believe. We haven't even got to the other issues of marriage.
Make-believe?
Hold on for a second. We still haven't got to the other issues of marriage.
I'm willing to
so you're telling me about the mitigation risk and we've wasted too much time on it. Can we talk about the other issues of marriage?
Well, okay.
Sexless
Can
marriage.
we at least wrap this up?
Yeah, let Andrew finalize this.
Yeah, so the thing is like, the problem is you said it was a great institution.
Right.
If you say it's a great institution, even when it was a great institution, people were still getting divorced. So if that's the case, what you're really after is just mitigating risk. And I'm giving you a perfect way to mitigate risk. Right. And the fact of the matter is that it is becoming more and more popular to do it this way. Prenup plus ecclesiastical authority almost mitigates your risk entirely, except for common law, but you can pick the state to live in for that. And you, by your own logic, can't defer from common law either. You can't protect men from that. So the thing is like, you can't have it both ways. You can't agree marriage is good and the backbone for the West and you really like it and it's fucking great. Right. It's a great institution, but also don't do it because it's make-believe that you can mitigate risk, even though you can right this second. That's insane.
Listen,
all right, final point.
Let's get to the other risks that are associated with it.
Well, wait. Why are we talking about the risk? There's always going to be risk. Why are we not talking about the benefits of? There's risk in driving a car. There's risk of skydiving. There's risk. I mean, there's risk all the time, but there's a benefit too.
We got that.
That's
we
not
tackled
that point on this.
That is
make the final point and then
listen. I'm a grown man. I'm not 22-year-old OnlyFans. I'm going to say what I want to say. Listen to this.
Wow.
At this particular point,
you got me on that one.
Listen, we're moving forward.
Okay, we're moving forward.
At this point, what are the other risks that we want to guard against? We got the divorce. You're going to put them on the ecclesiastic paperwork. Less people are doing that. Not a lot of people know how to do it. He just got married. He didn't do it. All right. I can almost guarantee.
Probably not.
Exactly. So now, less people are going to do this. Not a lot of people know that. Not a lot of men are going to prepare themselves to do that.
Change that.
Exactly. So that would be a very tough scenario, and most likely it's not going to happen moving forward.
Okay.
There are other issues in marriage that typically, if depending on what authority you go under, are still a risk for men. Yes, it's great for the backbone, but a lot of men are in sexless marriages. A lot of women are in sexless marriages. The percentage of affairs in marriages are still a big issue. That can't be addressed. Those risks are going to be tough. And now you have an issue because now whoever's your authority has to mitigate that risk. Now all of a sudden they have to govern or socially pressure the women, and that's going to be difficult to do. 20%, 30% of sexless marriages, 20-30% of people having affairs. This is not the intent of people who get married. So yes, we have the divorce. We set that aside. Now, what about within the marriage? How do you mitigate the risk for that? I'm assuming you're going to have the ecclesiastic come through the home and force the wives to fuck their husbands.
Oh, that's quite the straw man. But I'll go ahead and answer.
I'm going to say, I do think that, and I got mad respect for Andrew. I'm sorry. The preaching of the gospel is the only thing. You can't stop somebody from sinning. What Coach Greg is pointing out is people sin. Sinners sin. And how can you stop sinners from sinning? That's what he's saying. That's it. And sir, there's no way to do that apart from preaching the gospel and the Lord transforming someone's heart. So it's not on Andrew to resolve that issue. It's not on me. It's on the individual who will be doing that said sin to be converted or to go ahead and embrace their sinful nature. But that's not something that we can fix. You can't stop somebody from sinning. That's silly. But I think because Coach Greg has no foundation in Christ, I think that's why his answers are so silly.
Actually, the ecclesiastical authority does mitigate against this, and here's my proofs. Proof one: if it is the case that you get married to a woman who's a virgin, but she's a virgin because she's a Christian, hang on, let me get through the entirety of the arguments before you start freaking out. If it is the case, your chances of that marriage ending, very, very, very small, one. And two, they report that they have a happier sex life. This is actually the case with the decrease in body count, which generally comes with the more religious people, meaning the more that you take your religion seriously, the more that you pray, the more that you engage in that whole ecclesiastical authority thing, the less likely it is you step out of your marriage, significantly less likely. The less likely it is that you end up in a sexless marriage. You know why? Because there's a reinforcement in Christianity that men and women are not allowed to deprive each other of sex when it comes to marriage. And you find that people who follow the traditional faith generally don't. And so, yes, the ecclesiastical authority preaches that from the pulpit. Sorry, lady, you got to fuck your husband. That's part of God's law. Yeah. What do you got for him? Go out and just fuck everybody? What are you going to do to mitigate? By the way, you're at the mercy of the same criticism. You can't mitigate guys' girlfriends from fucking around on them any more than you could a person's wife. You can't mitigate them stepping out on them. You can't mitigate them treating them like shit. You can't do anything. At least I have a mitigation. You have nothing. You have nothing. Just liberal degeneracy. Give me something you could do that would give any kind of fail-safe against this. One thing.
I don't know what communities you live in, but your church pastor is going to be very busy walking in all of these bedrooms, preventing divorce and enforcing women to sleep with their husbands.
Do you know what?
Now we have this guy.
Do you know what a baseline for an argument is?
That was the baseline.
Yeah.
You want to say now, do we want to increase the body count?
Yeah,
because if you're looking,
that was the whole point of the baseline of the argument.
So right now, if we can pull up how many women in Gen Z, because this is marital age women, would have a body count lower than 5.
No, because now we're also marriageably aged. What do you mean?
Okay, millennials, younger millennials. Okay, because there's no point in older people getting married. They're not procreating. All right, they're going to have 1 or 2 kids.
Older
that doesn't help us
procreate.
Not that much. All right. They're going to have 1 or 2 kids. All right. Listen, it said in the Bible, in your Bible, it says be fruitful and multiply, not add. All right. We're not adding one little autistic kid. We're multiplying.
That would be multiplying.
It wouldn't be multiplying.
Yes,
having one little bright ass kid.
3 and you have 1 more. That's
all right.
multiplying.
Multiplying by 1. All right. That's not an answer. Okay. Listen, we're multiplying by multiples. You know what I'm talking about. Now, look, the metropolises. We're talking about major cities.
How is your plan going to mitigate that? How is your plan going to mitigate that?
I don't know if you remember. I asked you All right.
And I
This is
told
the question
you.
and you came back with virgins. And
No.
you came back with
God.
enforcing sex
Why
for
do
the
you only get
pulpit.
half the argument. That's why you can't respond to my arguments. So let's do it again. If you want
Please.
to mitigate.
Force women to have lower body
You're
counts.
not, dude. How's it force?
Go ahead.
How's it force?
You're the one enforcing sex.
How
to
is
the
it?
husband.
How? How are we using force?
How are you enforcing sex to the
Through
husband? from the pulpit?
through social pressure, doofus. The same way you would with
Okay,
everything.
Gentlemen, your wife is going to have sex with you because church reverend enforced her to have sex with
God.
you.
Do you think?
Okay, please pull up the chat.
Yeah, pull
His
up the chat.
suggestion is to
Uh-huh.
have a church reverend enforce you
They're
to
not
have
enforcing
burning
it.
desire to have sex with your.
Enforce requires force. Enforce is a derivative of force. You can't enforce absent force. No one's saying force.
This is how your sex is going to be had in his marriage.
Uh-huh.
It's through enforcement through the religious pulpit.
No, it's gonna
I mean,
be
this
the
is
idea-
2025.
If
and
it's the
we're
idea-
still here.
If I were Andrew, I'd say, okay, fine. What would be your solution? Fine. You've given the straw man of my argument. What is yours? Because Coach Greg still has not given any solutions. He's only pointed out problems and tried to tear down Andrew's attempt to bring a solution.
Somewhere on Little House on the Prairie.
If it's the idea,
I would love
that
to have
women
this reality.
If it's the idea that women have and men have both, that they're not supposed to deprive each other from this because that
Right.
is how they live the life of a Christian. The case of the matter is that they try to keep themselves sexually appealing to the partner. They try to keep themselves moving towards that state where they're found appealing. That's part of that. Why do you think? And by the way, you keep saying force. Can you
Enforce.
demonstrate anywhere that I said that there would be any force involved with any of this, or that it's even
I said
necessary?
enforce.
Enforce is force.
Correct. That's what. So I was
So
correct.
where
I
is
think
the force? Where?
You tell me. You're the one.
You
that's gonna
asked the
say-
question.
Wait, you're the one that told me the church reverend is going to come
Ah.
enforce marriage.
No,
sex.
He
when?
did not say that.
You said that earlier.
Greg.
No, I said the
Enforcement from
ecclesiastical
the pulpit-
authority
from the
uses
pulpit.
social pressure.
Social pressure.
That's
to
not
make your
your
wife
pulpit.
fuck your husband.
No, you're not making
So
them
that's-
do anything.
Okay, to encourage them to fuck. Their,
Yeah.
Okay, this
Don't you encourage people's wives to fuck them?
I don't need to be in their bedrooms that much.
Yeah, I mean, if
force her to
somebody-
do
if a
anything.
wo- if
Listen, I
somebody
can't
calls
force
you-
a woman to do
If
very
a woman
much.
called you and said, "I don't sleep with my husband. He seems angry at me," would you encourage her to sleep with him?
I wouldn't encourage her to do anything, especially with
It's funny because he's using the word encourage. And that means to what? Take courage and do it. It's funny that he's using the word encourage, but he seems to shy away from that. But he has no problem saying enforce as if that man said that. Shout out.
I don't mess with. I don't mess with married women. That's their
Brilliant.
business.
So your
that's their
solution
business.
is
That's
fucking nothing. Nothing.
my solution is very clear.
What is it?
You're telling me at this particular point that you're going
What
to
is your
enforce through social pressure. Social pressure.
That's not
Hold on for a
force.
second. Social
There's no
pressure
enforcement.
social pressure enforces women to be very promiscuous at this particular point.
Uh-huh.
Now, you're talking about 7% of the population or better, maybe 10, that are going to fall under this category. And this is going to lead a wave of women sleeping with their husband through social pressures when social pressure quite tells them the opposite. Let me move. Let me.
I don't even know what the hell you're talking about this.
Right.
Boy.
Exactly. It's very difficult. I know.
It is
Very difficult for you. I
Yeah,
know
this
exactly. And very nice tactic. But listen,
It's not a tactic. I really
these
am
are all-
trying my hardest
you're,
to understand.
You're taking a very small scenario to make it the large scenario. When I'm telling you the larger scenario is the reality, and you're telling me
both
if
the reality.
I do this, if I do that,
No,
this is
so
a
are
very
you.
small percentage.
You're doing the same
I'm
thing.
telling you about
If
what's
you get
happening.
married, you may get a
No, I
divorce.
said
You
when.
may- if this happens, then this may happen.
We already looked at the statistics of it likely happening.
Yeah, no,
So that is
no.
likely to happen.
Likely to happen doesn't mean that it's a guarantee that it will happen.
First of all, even the
Did you
statistics you
pull up
looked
the
at,
statistics again?
pull up
The marriage
statistics
statistics, the
for the
divorces
Christians. It's actually not likely, is it?
in the United States? Overall in the United States.
Yeah,
So it only,
you're talking about
in order
overall.
for it to work, you have to be white,
You need to break
make a
this
certain
down by
income. Hold on for a
demographics
second. You need of
You want me to
course.
break it down?
So
and social
so you want to go,
economics.
in order for your marriage to work, they have to be white, Christian,
They don't have to be white.
make money,
No.
and then also probably live in a certain region.
If it's the
Now,
case,
what
Who
if
said
that's
that?
not the case? Because
Yeah.
in the United States, I don't know where you live.
Nobody said that. He literally added that and made that up.
But in the case,
then we use
is
the apparatuses.
if you take the rest of the United States, they're highly not that. That is outside of those demographics.
And don't you want to change that?
What if they're outside of that?
Don't
What if
you
they're
wanna-
not white and Christian?
Don't you want to
What
change
if they're
that?
not Christian to make 100K? What do you suggest then?
Yeah. So here's what I would suggest. If it's the case that in the Black community, you have more divorces than in the white community, there's going to be contributing factors for why that is. I don't think that like Black people are just ontologically different than white people. Do you? Do you just believe like that at their core, they're just ontologically different? Or do you think that they're the same? Because if that's the case, if we're equal people and equal people groups, then there must be some other social factors which are relating to this that increase the divorce rate in the Black community that doesn't exist yet in the white community. If that's the case, we would specifically target those issues to prevent that from happening, right? We're going to do this we're going to do this across the board. Well,
what would they be?
For the Black community, there's a bunch. One, you have a distinction in economic certitude. The second one is you had a massive abortion rate, which is super problematic. Another one is you use matriarchal structures in the family home instead of patriarchal. Huge issue that you have. By the way, when it was Christian based, it didn't happen. It was a patriarchal structure inside those Black homes. And boy, they didn't put up with shit. Not the case anymore. So you have multiple factors here which need to be addressed. I agree with that. Nobody ever disagreed with that, though. What we're trying to do is look at the mitigation of risk. And even for the Black community,
We handled that already.
if the Black community moves in to these conventionally traditional churches, they still will have the same ecclesiastical authority, which will assist them in governing their marriage that white people would have. And it would still assist.
I'm rocking with Andrew. It's not the church authority. It is the gospel authority. It is the authority of the gospel that changes hearts. It changes hearts, man. That's the problem. And I think he could really nail Coach Greg to the floor with that.
With the mitigation of risk. What's the alternative? It's just degeneracy, right? The alternative is just like,
He's
we'll
not
just
giving
hump
it
them and never get
all.
married. Well, what good does that do for Blacks? What good does that do? It just leads to more abortion. It just leads to more degeneracy. It leads to high crime rates, and the single motherhood's out of control. So like, what are you doing to prevent any of that? Nothing. Tell me what?
Okay. Thank you. You said things that people have known for the past 45 years, but I
Answer the
appreciate that.
question.
Hold on for a second.
Give
Thank you for
solutions.
contributing to a common conversation that people know, but you offer no other solution. That's great. Now, here's a problem. Here's a problem with this. It's an if scenario. That would be great if we can go back to this. It would be great if we can go back and look at and say that Blacks, when they were in the 40s and 50s, they had more stable relationships and marriages than even white folks.
That's true.
Here's the issue.
Okay.
Why stop at the 40s? Let's talk about 1863.
Right. So this is where I'm talking about. When Coach Greg goes backwards, it gets retarded. And I don't think he really wants to find a solution. He wants to bring it. Why are we bringing 1863 in here? What does that got to do with anything? The reason Andrew brought up the 40s is because most of us have at least a relative that we knew of that was a part of that generation. That's why he brought up the 40s, when marriages before no fault divorces were instituted. And it was very close to that timeline. 18, what?
Okay.
Your tradition seems to always hit this point of 1940s where you shine this light of traditionalism that you've never lived in, that seems to be in a snapshot of something that you don't even know about. Then when I fast forward
saying anything, dude.
Again, you're not listening. When I fast forward to 1970, when it falls all apart with no fault divorce, based on what I've been arguing, what happens? All that traditionalism falls apart.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we take it further? Why don't we take it back to bride prices? I mean, how far in tradition you're going to go? You're only going to bang your head around 1940 and 50 because you watched a couple of movies and I Love Lucy episodes. That's not tradition.
Okay.
That was a snapshot in history that you're trying to achieve again.
So
take it back further. There's no marriages in the Black community.
Let's say we'll take it. Let's say we take it all the way back to the 1700s. Let's just say, just for the sake of it, right? And that I'm totally wrong about all this, just for the sake of argument. Let's just say, what is your prescription to deal with any of those issues when you're telling men in the Black community to not get married? How is that going to assist with abortion? How is that going to assist with strong fathers in the home? How's that going to assist with the only demographic population which can't reproduce itself? How? Can you give me a single prescription to any of that?
Let me tell you something. I agree with you on this.
I just want a prescription, dude.
Here's a problem. I agree with you. And listen, if you had any ability to provide this prescription better than Louis Farrakhan or Martin Luther King,
does that mean no?
Give me a second. Listen to me.
Mm-hmm.
These men have tried to pretty much heal this issue, and they haven't.
No,
So
Notice he took them back to 1700s, and now he's bringing up Farrakhan and MLK. When were they around? The 1960s.
Andrew Wilson certainly not to. Neither will CGA. So I don't have a prescription
That's
for the black
right.
community because
That's
the
right.
black community is pretty much doomed at this particular point. They have too much degeneracy. They have single mother rates at the 70 and 80%.
Black
but I'm going to tell you something. You want to come in here and tell me something about ecclesiastics, and you're telling me about the reality of the black community, how to fix it. Nobody's been able to fix that community. So there's nothing you can do, and I can't offer any solution for that.
Look,
Now, at that particular point, you're saying the risk is higher. It certainly will be higher under those matriarchal conditions. So you get no argument from me there. So at that point, where's your statistics lie then?
well,
Where's your solution then?
I'll tell you again. So I'm glad
He's going to solve the community problems here. I'd love to hear this.
listen again. I'm not saying
The black
that-
community problem solved by Andrew Wilson.
that says the guy who literally just
would
got
love to
done
hear
saying,
this.
I have
love to hear
zero prescriptions.
Because nobody does.
Yeah,
That
well,
community is
here's
here. But I would love to hear the
here's the
black
thing.
community solved by Andrew Wilson.
Yeah, so let me tell you a bunch of things that can be done which will help mitigate these
please
issues.
do. Please
The
do.
first is
that you can accomplish.
Yeah.
Not some pipe dream.
that can be accomplished.
Here we go.
That can be accomplished politically and already are beginning to be accomplished politically. The first is you have to outlaw abortion. You have to. It has to be outlawed. And not by state where you can just go to the next state and do another abortion.
Facts.
Right? One of the biggest problems with promiscuity in the black community is
I'm just going to say this right now. At least Andrew is trying to bring a solution. Like it or not, Coach Greg literally just washed his hands of the people that look like him. That's crazy work, man. Like, dang, dude, you won't fight for your own people, to the people that look like you, to at least try and strive? Good night. And he wants to feel elevated? Yo, dude, you are a loser.
that they use abortion as a form of birth control. Same problem that you see in the white community, by the way. It's just more prevalent in the black community. The next problem that you have there is the lack of religiosity, where there used to be a really strong core religious base of based black men. And they were patriarchal,
He
very
said based.
patriarchal.
I love it.
And the thing is that it's the idea of these feminist bra-burning lunatics that told black women not to be under the evil patriarchy of their men. And yet, at this point, the men are rolling over and allowing the matriarchy to take over in their own community. Is a return to traditional church ethics going to assist that? Of course it will. Of course it will. How do I know? Because it did then, just a few short years ago. I'm not talking about hundreds of years ago. I'm talking about 60 years ago. By the way, there's other things that you can do too. Getting rid of EBT, getting rid of social programs, which are designed to keep people dependent. These are all things which can be politically accomplished. Just like abortion, the starting of banning that was politically accomplished in our lifetime. And the thing is like, you have no prescriptions. Fuck, at least.
Okay. And let me also add, before somebody jumps in there and runs in a direction he didn't say, he is not saying that this is only a solution for black people. Now, none of those solutions are only black. Of course, they can definitely help out a whole lot, because I can hear y'all typing already about the EBT comment, and more white people are on Snap than blacks. Okay, I got your point. But can't you see where he's going?
I'm trying here, man.
Man, Andrew, you are Captain Obvious. This is the obvious
Then why didn't you obviously state it as a prescription?
Because people have exhausted the means to be able to do this. Trust me, there have been people way better than you, that dress better than you and shave their beard better than you, that can do this, and they haven't been able to accomplish it. You have the Democratic Party that is highly influential. 92% of black women voted for Democrats. That's also possibly where most of those women go to church. Most of black churches are overwhelmingly women. It's a woman's club. And you're telling me about something completely obvious that everybody has pointed out for 25 years. You're not giving me anything new. This is a completely obvious scenario. And you believe that you've enlightened me over here and you're waiting for me to give you a solution. Let me tell you something.
It's not about changing your mind.
You certainly would never do that. Now, at this particular point here, the unsettling experience that men experience in divorce. All right. You're saying you're just going to mitigate it or eradicate it. What about the small percentage of men that experience it and go through issues like high levels of self-deletion, high levels of them not being able to recover financially ever? They're still going to experience this under your scenario. Yes. This doesn't disappear. What prescription do you have for those men that went to your marriage and they got divorced 33%? What do you do with these men? Okay, 20%, 30%. It still was at a high rate.
I think it would
what
even
prescription
be lower than that.
You would hope so. You would hope so. But hope is not a strategy. What hold on for a second. What scenario do you have for men that you led into the burning building when they experience separation from their children, parental alienation, high levels of self-deletion.
Yeah.
What prescription do you have, sir, that you sold?
Yeah,
Have
that's a
all
great
you
question.
have all the answers. Please enlighten us.
Yeah,
What
so-
you're going to do with these men?
so-
Are you going to enforce them to have sex
Yeah,
with
yeah.
other virgins that
I'll
you have
answer-
on the sideline?
I'll answer the question, but I want to make a deal with you that if I answer this last question of yours, that you'll actually answer when I ask you after that. Is that
Listen, we're not in a court of law. I don't have to answer anything. I can state something.
Yeah, I know,
and
but I'm
then we
asking
can
you
go
if we
back
can
and
make a
forth.
deal. That if I
I'll
answer this
consider
question, you'll answer
answering
my
the
next
question that you asked me. I'll
Dang.
consider
So we're not
it.
going to make a deal on that?
I don't have to make a deal.
Dang.
Listen,
You don't
I'll
have to.
consider
I'm asking if
answering
you
something.
will.
Possibly. So go ahead.
Possible. Okay, well then I possibly will hold the debate hostage until you possibly make a deal with
All right,
me.
great. So that gives me the floor.
So we'll just sit here and
Make
stare at
it
each other, or we
well,
just
here's the deal.
filibuster each other. Like
At this particular point,
So
oh, you don't want to.
so I can
you wanna
answer-
answer it. You want to
Yeah,
answer it.
but you're not going to
answer.
But you're not going to answer mine. I just want that clear. You're not going to answer mine after. You're just going to filibuster
answered
and
the
Stonewall
question.
again.
I ask you the question. Put it on
Yeah.
the table.
So this is pretty simple, right? What you're proposing here. Every policy prescription which is made anywhere in any nation, with any people group, from the tribal all the way to the national level, is going to be a trade-off, no matter what. There's always going to be some people who are disaffected by it in some small percentage, and there's not a damn thing you can do about it. We don't run societies based on outliers. The second thing is, when it comes to suicide in men, particularly, one of the best ways to mitigate that is to begin the process of eliminating deployment of troops abroad. Because one of the biggest contributing factors to male suicide, including in marriage with divorce, is their veteran status. And it's because they really depend on their family to assist them with what's going on mentally from the fact they've been deployed in these wars. And one thing you could really do that would help that's what the American First policy is we want to bring your troops home, no more foreign wars. That will greatly help and aid with this problem. And by the way, policy-wise, it's already been aiding with this as Trump has wound these wars down. And by the way, I'll point out
that's a good. That's a good one. I like it.
I'll point out a few more things that
Oh, please do. Yes.
So another thing that you can do is at the national level, right? From propaganda works. I'm sure you agree. Propaganda absolutely works.
Absolutely.
If at a national level you had propaganda, which instead of showing LGBTQ flags, degeneracy, girl bossing, shit like this, which is what you see everywhere, you had institutional family units instead, right? And that was what you saw everywhere that you went. And that was where the social status was. At the top down level, that would really help change people's psyches around the same way they were indoctrinated towards the degeneracy, same way you can indoctrinate them out of degeneracy. It's how we got a whole nation to smoke. And it's also how we got a whole nation to quit smoking. So the thing is, like, there really are good prescriptions here. And the only thing I get from you,
Wait a minute.
hang on,
We're talking about
hang on,
self-deletion
almost
of
done,
men.
almost done.
Okay.
Yes, that'll help with self-deletion of men. Yes. And it's one of the biggest contributing factors. Single motherhood, another huge contributing factor. These are all things which we need to mitigate. And by the way, these are all great prescriptions. You said I don't have none.
No, for a second. That's what you said. Now, here's the deal. These are great prescriptions. I happen to live in the time that you're talking about when the FCC didn't allow degeneracy. And I was able to live through the time where they started to allow it. So I, unfortunately, was able to see a time where America was great. And now we had dysfunction. So I agree with some of those things. That took place probably 40 or 50 years. It would take a very, very unique scenario for that to occur when you have Cardi B and this type of music out here.
I disagree. If we went back to public service announcements, remember those public service announcements during our Saturday morning kids and Kung Fu theater, Saturday morning cartoons and Kung Fu theater? I don't know, man. If we went back to that and now we could do it on a grander scale, even using social media, I don't think it would be that hard to cause people to see marriage as being an option and long-term marriage being an option. Because Greg has still not talked about the benefit of marriage and what makes marriage great, which I think they should be doing. I don't think we should be talking about mitigating divorce.
He's a single mother divorcee with a man that is having babies.
See, now that's a good argument.
Okay, so how
that's an actual argument.
Hold on for a second. No, that's something that you agree with. That's okay.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
Argument. No, it's an agree. You just agree.
Okay,
you can be humble enough to say you.
That's
agree.
An actual argument.
No, listen. You don't have to be. You don't have to belittle or attempt to belittle.
Well,
I'm here a grown ass man.
The argument
just say you agree. Hey,
listen.
Just say you agree. You want to be
It's not a matter of agreement. It's a matter of recognizing that was the argument.
Hey, sir.
It's the only argument
you're not
you've
used
made
to
the
somebody
whole
across from you. No, just say you
That's on Greg. Greg is being childish. I'm sorry. Just because he's been belittling the whole day. You started it.
agree. You can humble yourself in the side.
I don't
Wow.
agree. It's just an argument.
You agree. Be a big boy. Be a big boy.
I don't agree, but
Hold
it's
on
an
for a second.
argument.
Here's a second.
Okay.
You're telling me it's going to take 50 to 100 years.
No.
I ask you about a man that's considering taking his life today. You're telling me about propaganda machine. Okay, there are men here that are been abandoned from their kids. They've been alienated. I'm talking about today. I'm not talking about in the church. I'm talking about today.
Okay. I'll answer
You're telling me about some scenario where you're going to change liberalism and bring in righteous conservatism. That's not going to work today. We need solutions for men today, not 50 years from the turning point meeting. Okay.
Wow.
At this point, today we have men that are in dire need of help.
I agree.
They're going through unsettling situations and divorces. This is who I speak to. And you keep telling me obvious answers about propaganda and changing this and going to church. This sounds great on paper, but that doesn't happen today. You don't start that today. Can you give me a one solution you got that starts today, Mr. I got all the solutions? We can start today.
Yeah. If you assist with funding MRA groups today who are trying to
MRA
legislate and get legislation passed today to create preventative measures for those men today. Now, if you ask me, can you do anything about a man who might be willing to blow his head off right this second because he's already going through the events of divorce, which I had nothing to do with, wasn't there for, could never do anything about?
Nobody can do
Can you
anything about
prevent?
it.
Of course, nobody can. But that's built
Even
into
your righteous
but that's
ecclesiastic
that's
reverend
built
from the pulpit.
Yes, but it's built into the question. What you're building into the question is probably the worst framing ever. Andrew, if somebody right this second is willing to do
Here we
something
go.
bad,
Here's
can you stop them?
Here it
It's
goes.
like,
Here it comes. Look at the
I don't
scenario.
understand.
But your scenario is
Yeah.
to change MRA funding when women outvote men 60 to 40%, and you have women lobbyist groups and 0 men lobby groups. That's what you're telling
That's
me?
really
We're
funny.
going to change to fun MRA groups. When
Congress
MRA
makes
groups-
the law,
hold on for
not
a
the
second.
voters, sir.
Hold on. When
Congress makes the law.
MRAs are
Mhm.
on some terror lists. Yes.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
you're telling me that they're going to start just switching funding. We're just going to switch funding over here
Yeah.
to a terrorist
The
organization,
thing is,
according to some of these websites.
yeah, I would say that
This is just a pie in the sky.
know,
All
it's
your
funny.
solutions are completely
not
pie
only
in
is
the
it
sky.
not pie in the sky, but I'll give you an
Absolutely
example. I'll give you an example.
the least possible situation that
Well, I'll give you an example of where it's already happened. So I would argue that the traditional churches are MRAs, that they are men's rights advocacy groups, and that's where traditional masculinity is mostly found today, where men are even allowed to be masculine. Hang on. Let me finish my point. And it is the case that those MRAs, in this case, the traditional churches, already got abortion rolled back, didn't they? They're already moving these things back. They're already at the forefront of fighting degeneracy. They are also the ones who are at the charitable forefront of helping those same veterans who are blowing their heads off when the government doesn't even pay any attention to them. When by the time the government was all done doing any of these reforms, when it came to veterans associations, it was those pesky old traditional churches from Sky Daddy that you hate so much. They were the ones on the forefront who were actually assisting those people and not doing that. While you asked me this question, Andrew, what can you do right this second for a guy who's going to blow his head off? Well, probably nothing, but neither can you.
Of course.
But at least we could do something about that not happening to others.
Okay, so that's very easy to accomplish in red states, and red states overwhelmingly were the states that got those things passed.
Yeah.
They were already going to get it passed without the interaction of these so-called righteous individuals.
That was done
hold
at
on for a
the federal
second.
level,
Now
not
let's
the state level.
through
Right,
Donald
so-
Trump.
Yeah, the
and a lot-
federal
Now
level.
watch
It
this.
doesn't have to do with
California, Nevada, these
Uh-huh.
are all states that you can easily drive to and get it done because they're red
Which is why
or
we need
they're
a
blue
federal
states.
ban. Yeah,
And at that particular point, are we going to get a federal ban?
yeah,
You believe
we very
that?
possibly could. Yeah,
Possible.
it looks good. It looks
good, but
Yeah.
we don't have it today. All right,
We
so
don't.
we don't.
You
We're not again. We don't have it.
So what you want to
More
do?
than likely,
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you.
Uh-huh.
You said it's possible, and I say more than possible. You're not going to get it. All right. So at that point,
That's what
now
they
you
said
have
about
an
Roe
issue.
v. Wade, and they were wrong.
They're wrong today. They're wrong. Possibly, we possibly might get it, but California they're not doing it. I can drive to
If
California
there's
right
a
now.
federal ban,
When
they
there's a
can't
woman I
stop
can
it.
drive, and I could take a woman to Nevada.
Yeah,
We
but
can
it's
take her to
already
many
decreasing
places
the
right now.
rates. It's already working.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? It's already effective,
All it does is just send women to another place,
and it
To find
reduces the amount of abortions.
It reduces it. So now
Significantly.
we're not. That's all we're talking about. Reducing it. We're
Yeah,
talking
we're trying to
about
get to
now
zero, but
the
we can't.
unsettling experiences.
So do nothing.
We're doing something. doing something. I'm informing people. I'm informing people. I'm giving people the information.
To do what?
And you're telling me
what do you want
this guy's solution that might take
Tell me
forever.
what men should do.
I'm telling you what they're
what.
doing. All right. At this particular point, this
Yeah.
is the question that you've been wanting to ask me.
Yes,
right?
Lord.
I put out a book called 52 Things That Men Should Do Prior to Considering Marriage.
Okay.
What it does is take it through a step-by-step approach of what they need to look out for just to detect.
What is that?
Hold on for a second.
Right
Hold on for a
now.
second. Just to detect this man's considering. I've had plenty of men that said they were considering marriage. They found the red flags because of my book, and they stopped getting married to a woman that eventually they saw would have been bad for them. That would have cost them hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I'm doing something very positive. Now watch this. You mitigate the red flags. You allow men to understand what the process of marriage.
So Greg is really good at keeping men from getting married and telling them that they're going to get divorced. He has nothing for in the middle about being married, because even in his, okay, fine, you wrote a book, 52 ways to spot a red flag. They're still going to require you to do something, though. It's not going to be a fix right now. So that MRA groups, again, they're a slow burn. You're not going to be able to snap your finger. He keeps creating these scenarios where you have to snap your finger, and if you don't snap your finger and it fixes the problem, then throw it away.
Mitigating the risk.
Then you're going into possibly telling them what the state is involved in, how your children are affected, parental alienation, the odds of self-deletion, and so forth and so on. So that's an
I want to make sure I got this right.
Opportunity for men to learn.
So I want to get this right.
You're telling me
what you're doing,
possibility of changing laws.
So what you're doing,
women outvote men 60 to 40%.
Yeah. So you wrote, it doesn't, dude, you don't even understand the political process and how it works. Voting itself, when you're talking about
lobby groups.
Yeah. You're talking
what
about
men's
lobby groups and
what men lobby
NGOs.
groups, man. What male lobby groups do they have?
Traditional churches.
Okay, we're back to church again.
They're the ones who do all the lobbying on behalf of men.
They're doing it on behalf of the men that follow them. That's not on
it's
behalf
for
of
all men. This abortion ban helps all men. It's not some. Their charities to men who are going to kill themselves helps all men, not some.
It doesn't help all men in that situation.
Yes, it helps.
Because listen,
yes, it does.
To tell you where it doesn't. There might be a woman considering getting an abortion, and he wants to keep the kid. He has no mitigating risk.
They're the only ones trying to change that.
Exactly. Who is?
The traditional churches.
The traditional churches.
Yes.
All right. At that point, that doesn't help him.
Yes, it does help him.
So you're saying at that point, it's only the traditional.
Neither does your book, Coach Greg. Your book won't help him either. I hate to say it. Somebody who's dealing with that right now, there's nothing you can do. All you can do is try to fix the problem in the future and be better prepared in the future. Your book, Changing Laws. I mean, that's reality.
Church, when you have hundreds of female lobbyist groups and you have them out,
they're the ones combating those female lobbying groups.
And yes, that's it. How are they doing? Only the red.
They're doing great.
Only the red.
No, at the federal level, they're doing great. You're wrong.
You can still go to other states to get it done.
Yes, but we've still managed to mitigate it even in those states. It's a war. It's a political war. That's how it works. And not only that, let's point this out. Your whole solution here. I wrote a book to help mitigate future events. Oh, great. Andrew, what are you trying to do? Help mitigate future events. Exactly. Oh, right now, right this second, what can I do to help? Andrew says right this second, if a guy has a 357 in his mouth, is going to pull the trigger, can't do anything. You're totally right, but neither can you by your own admission.
Correct.
So there we go there. When we're looking at the future, though, and I say, let's do all of these different prescriptions, which we can actually politically accomplish and move towards, you say, that's all fucking pie in the sky, blah, 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 blah. I ask, well, what can you do as far as future prescriptions? You say, blacks are fucked. And I have absolutely no prescriptions for it.
No, I wrote a book, 52 Things That Men Could Consider
to mitigate divorce risk. The same thing I'm trying to do.
If they're marrying the right woman. So you're just mad that I have one solution, you have another, and we don't agree.
Mine's better.
That's what you believe. I think yours is pie in the sky. So that's just.
I don't see how it can be pie in the sky. It's affecting way more men than your book.
No, my book actually has 15,000+. You have how many? Hold on. You have how many? You have how many ecclesiastic marriages that your church pastor is going to go into the bedroom and enforce marriages? That you can't even give me a number.
Ever proposed that. You're such a liar.
You can't even give me a number. You said that.
Nobody said that the pastors are going to go in the bedroom and enforce anything.
Okay, social pressure.
Stop lying.
All your social pressure.
Stop lying, dude.
Where's your social pressure? How many people
I don't know how people
have your
accepted Coach Greg as like a thought leader? This guy is terrible. I mean, he's terrible, man. He's just not he does just because he was about to say he sold 15,000 books. That's what he was about to say, or 15,000 reviews. That doesn't mean that these people your book has been the solution to fix their problem. They read the book, they found it useful, they didn't marry this person, they married this person, and guess what? They probably still got the same problems.
Ecclesiastic marriages. How many people got married under that?
Millions.
Please give me a number.
Millions of people have an ecclesiastical authority. That's
Go ahead and type it up.
People have an ecclesiastical marriage. They may have a state cert also.
Under your scenario.
What do you want me to type?
We don't.
How many?
We don't
know.
know. We don't know exactly.
But you're sneezing at my number, but you don't know at all.
We know for
hey, listen,
sure.
there's a lot
that
you don't
even
know.
if it was
There's
the
a
case
lot
that you
don't know.
never adopted the state,
but you don't have any number.
Even if it's the case, hang on.
What's the number?
Hang on.
Listen.
Even if it's the case that all they ever did was get a state marriage certificate and never even followed that portion of what I'm saying, right? The number is still lower by the state's own numbers. It's still lower in
Can you
traditional
give me
churches.
a number of your marriages that you're proposing that we're all going to follow?
We don't know. We don't have polls
You
on it
don't
yet.
have a number.
Yeah, we don't know for sure.
I would venture to say it's very little, under 100.
Sure.
All right. So now we got.
No, it's not under 100.
Okay, certainly
No.
under 100.
No, it's not.
All right. I don't hear
people-
anybody talking about it other than you.
Yeah, well, that's because you're not around traditional churches by your own admission. But yeah, there's people who have crowning ceremonies and get married by churches who don't get a state cert.
Traditional churches.
In fact, there might be data on that. You should look.
Please look it up.
There might be
under your scenario.
Yeah, under my scenario. But the thing is that even if we grant, even if we were
so
to
we got
grant,
125
even
marriages.
if we were to grant it,
Yes.
still from the state's own admission, the divorce rate's still significantly lower for a reason.
20 to 30%. Okay. So
That's
it's still
huge.
lower. It is nice.
Significantly
It would be
lower.
nice. You still have men under unsettling divorce conditions. You still have men under state-funded divorce. You still have men under child support. You still have men under parental alienation. You still have sexless marriages. You haven't accomplished most of these.
2 out of 10.
2 out of 10 what?
That would be 2 out of 10. It's 20%, right? 2 out of 10 of those marriages, as opposed to your system.
4 out of 10.
Yeah, in your
5
system,
out of 10.
in your system, it's much higher.
It's the system that exists.
No, it's not.
But you're telling me 150 marriages. This is
no
all of these scenarios. I have to be honest with you. This wasn't much of a debate.
Yeah, I know.
No, listen, much of your scenarios were make believe. To be honest, they were pretty make believe. You would have to have an extremely considerable movement to be able to accomplish them.
Like millions of people.
You would have to have millions of people to do.
Can you pull up how many Catholic and Orthodox are in the United States?
Listen.
It's my turn to ask. I can ask him.
Please do. But that's not the number I'm looking
how many?
for.
Yeah, it is the number we're looking for.
We're looking for ecclesiastic marriages under your scenario.
No, listen. Even if it were the
way it works for you.
Even if it were the case, do you agree with me that if you take the state out of marriage, that is going to assist in the reduction of divorce?
You can't take the state out of marriage.
Why not?
That's what you're telling me.
Yeah, why
tell
can't
me how many people have done it?
Yeah, but why can't you do it?
Because no fault divorce, a woman can go into divorce you, even if because you're not under her control.
How if you're not married to her?
Authority.
By the states, you're not married. How can she take you to divorce court? Can you explain that to me?
I asked you this earlier. Have you been through a divorce?
It doesn't matter.
Answer the question. That's a yes. So you've been through a divorce.
Why does that matter?
Right.
What is pertinent to the
because
debate?
this is why. Can I finish? You've been telling me I'm cutting you off. You won't let me finish.
Bro, I want an answer to my question.
There we go again.
Can you answer my question?
I mean, I can play the game you're playing.
You just won't answer questions.
Jeez. All right, listen. I mean, I thought you were a tough guy. Listen, under this scenario, a marriage, even if it's ceremonial, religious, it doesn't matter if she files for the divorce. You will still be going in court to fight that. I don't care.
File for divorce if you're not married by the state, dude.
Listen,
can you answer my question?
You're completely missing this. This is what tells me you haven't been through one. Have you talked to a divorce attorney? A woman can file. You have to respond and provide evidence that you were not married. Now, you and your common law, you living with your kids, is going to be difficult. I'm trying to give you some information.
That's common law marriage.
Okay.
That's different. In some states, there is no common law marriage. So
that's not common law marriage.
Just answer
Listen,
okay.
California doesn't even have common law, and that exists. It could be ceremonial. You could get married in Fiji. It doesn't matter. As soon as you get back here, if you practice marriage, the whole institution at that particular point, if she files, you, sir, will have to respond to that suit.
Yeah.
If you do, I would hope and pray that the judge, not God, grant you your wish. At that point, your argument fails because you then would have to say, my ecclesiastic reverend on the little house on the prairie granted this marriage, but it doesn't count under the state.
I do want to make
she
sure
can do this, and you have to respond.
Can you help me with this? It's because I am actually confused. So let's say a woman and a man went out to a field and declared themselves
You got a
married.
scenario. Let's say if
a man went out to a field with a woman and declared that they're married.
correct,
You're saying she can still go to a divorce court and divorce him.
she can file for the divorce. You
How?
have to respond.
Yeah,
You
with
have to
what?
respond.
Yeah, what does that mean though? That doesn't mean
Again, I'm informing you.
I'm
What does
talking
that
about
mean?
see what Dan
This is how a lawsuit works.
Okay.
She's
A
a petitioner.
Okay.
She files. She says, we walked on coals. We went outside.
Yeah.
This was a union. I consider it a marriage. Everybody knows and addresses us as a marriage.
Yeah.
This is a non-common law states. We receive mail at this place. We've been living under the same roof for this many years. You will have to respond to these allegations. Now you're going to have to say on your petition, this is not true. We have an ecclesiastic marriage and a prenup under God, and we live together, but we weren't married. That's a response to the lawsuit, and then you proceed to trial and hearing.
Is this a lawsuit or a divorce?
Divorce is a lawsuit.
Okay, so I'm curious.
Divorce is a lawsuit.
Can you look this up? Can you file for divorce without ever getting married?
Oh my goodness, you are slow. You can file a lawsuit for anything.
So then it's not a
anybody
divorce.
Can sue you for anything.
Okay.
Okay. So if you go into there and
so they're just suing you.
Yes, it's a lawsuit.
That's not a divorce. Come on, dude.
It's a lawsuit.
Can we pull this up? Can you file for a divorce without getting married? Divorce is a legal process that ends in legally recognized marriage.
If you never obtained a marriage license, and your marriage was never registered, summarized according to the state law, the courts have no marriage to dissolve. You're full of shit.
Hold on for a second.
Saying that they can do, you're full of shit.
Listen,
they can just sue you for whatever.
You said they have no marriage to
you're
dissolve.
Saying that
You
they're
still
just
have
gonna sue you.
No. You still have
Come on.
You still have to respond to the law.
Yeah, but you don't have to go to the divorce court.
You do.
No,
That's
you
where
don't.
file the response.
No,
you still have
that's
to
not
go.
a divorce court.
That is the divorce.
No,
court.
it's not. It's a
That
court
is
of.
a
It's
divorce court.
the
Listen.
circuit court or some shit, not the divorce court.
Listen, this is
you got caught in 4K. You're full of shit.
That's ChatGPT.
You're full
in
of
this situation here.
Oh no,
we
not
can bring a lawyer
ChatGPT.
in to solve this and say, can she file for a divorce? You're saying what the outcome is. Hold on for a second. You're saying the outcome, they can't legally enforce it. That's what you hope the outcome is. You hope the outcome is. You still have to respond.
All you're saying is that a woman can sue you for anything.
Correct.
Yeah, but that's not the same as filing for divorce.
Hold on for a
the
second.
divorce courts.
That's
dude.
where they would file it.
No, they can't. No, they're not filing it in the divorce court.
My gosh. All right. That's where they would file it. In the divorce court.
They
That's
would
where
file
You're
a
not
lawsuit.
legally married.
No,
though.
they would file it in the family court. Trust me. Now, here's the
family
thing.
courts.
I'm still arguing this. Why are we arguing about why marriages end in divorce when the argument is why? The question was, why are young men not wanting to get married? Why are we not talking about the benefit and helping them see the benefit of marriage?
Hold on for a second. That's the divorce court.
Wait a second.
Family court is a divorce court.
Wouldn't you have to do that under specific criteria for family court, like a kid's involved or something? You can just
correct. So in this scenario, hold on for a second.
Dude, that's not the same as
hold on
divorce
for a second.
proceedings. This is ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
Listen. The family court is what people call the divorce court. There's no building that says divorce court. You understand?
Yeah, I agree with that.
So you have a woman with children.
Yeah.
That you say you're not married to. If she files, you still have to go under family court jurisdiction. You still have to respond
because there's children. Yes,
because there's children.
Yeah.
At that point, my point is made. She has filed. They may say the divorce doesn't count.
Yeah,
but now how do we deal with these children?
Yeah, but that was
that is a part of marriage. Did you not have children with a woman?
Dude, so if you're not,
that is a part of marriage.
As long as you don't have children, then they can't do that.
Correct. That's what you're saying. But you're saying
no. I'm asking. I'm actually asking.
You're saying they're going to have children, correct?
Yes.
You're going to go to family court.
Yes, you could go to family court.
If she files for the divorce.
Not for divorce. They could go for like motions for support or all sorts of things. That's not
the family
divorce.
Court.
Yeah.
When we talk about what men deal with when they deal with marriage and the result is a divorce, one of the things they deal with is child support, also domestic violence, which falls under the family court. So you cannot be married.
You have a problem here with this.
Listen,
so I agree.
Fall under
I agree
family
that
court.
if you have children, that could go through the family court system. Nobody ever disputed that, though.
So the problem, still dealing with this.
But hang on, but that's the different one. That's different than filing for divorce. You can't file for divorce if you're never married. That's
now
one. If it's the case,
if you're not
because
legally
that
married.
men who fight for custody,
Correct, right? That's correct.
but they're in a better position to fight for custody if they're not going to the divorce court, if they're only getting motions for child support or
well, we
child
know
custody.
actually I'll tell you something. If you are not married to them, you actually fare a little bit worse if you're not legally married. That's true. If you're not legally married to, let's just take a baby mom, baby dad situation. Yeah. If he's not legally married to them, they typically fare a little bit worse.
Yes.
In custody cases.
I just said that.
Right, correct.
Yeah.
So at that point, they're still faring worse. If
Now
they're
they're faring
married,
better,
if
right?
they're not married.
Yes, they'd be faring better.
No, they would actually fare worse.
How?
Well, ask any guy that's been in court. We can look at this.
Yeah.
When they're not legally married to a woman, they go through a custody battle.
Yeah.
When they're legally married, they do better getting better custody.
Yes, men get better custody.
When
So that would be a better outcome.
If they're not legally married,
Yes.
typically they fare worse getting custody.
Why?
Because they're not married to the woman. This is typically, it just depends on jurisdiction.
Because of the unplanned nature of it.
Correct.
If it's
Exactly.
planned,
but if it's planned, we don't know.
No, we do know.
The judge doesn't know.
Hang on.
How do they know?
We do.
So now you're saying
Nope.
you're going in there to use that we're not legally married, but we're married.
Here's how we can logically, I think I can actually logically demonstrate this, and I think you'll agree. Okay. So the reason that men tend to fare bad in custody disputes and in divorces is because it's unexpected. So usually they're getting hit with it and it's unexpected. Even if it should be expected, because it's unexpected, they have time to plot, they have time to plan, this kind of thing, right?
Violence
so they can hit them with it. Right. That's
normally what happens.
Yeah, that's normally.
You can't mitigate that. Or are you suggesting
you can mitigate? You can mitigate it. Here's how you can mitigate it. If you're in a church, you have
52 things. Go ahead.
Yeah, if you have the ecclesiology, the ecclesiastic community, the community actually supports you when you're going through these problems.
They're not going to be in court with you.
No, they actually help you with funding. They help you with everything.
They're not
yes,
in court with you. They're not going to be.
They don't need to go to court with you.
So
money is what talks, man, and bullshit walks.
Exactly, I agree with that. That I can agree with.
Yeah,
they're not going to be able to fund.
Well,
that
they do all the time.
Listen,
they assist
125 these small marriages. I would love to see these out. They should do a documentary on them.
They do.
All right, so we can.
We do have stats on this.
Most people aren't under these, so we can say that's clearly the case.
But
in those situations here, under those situations, you have men that are not under this veil of, I don't know what it is, okay, that do fare worse when they're not married. Okay, that's typically what's going to happen.
Because the childbirth itself is unplanned. But if they're with a woman long term as a partner, they actually do better.
And I was
even if they're not married.
One of those.
Even if they're not married,
typically,
yes.
That's. But sometimes
so it's still better
outcomes.
outcomes. You're just talking about the unplanned nature.
Not necessarily. I mean, they're having because there's a lot of factors here. I mean, we can make things black or white. The guy doesn't have the ability to maintain the custody. He lives in another city
because there's
so many other factors.
Because it's unplanned. I knocked her up. That's different than I was with her for a couple of years.
They were in a relationship. All right.
Yeah, but knocking her up usually happens early.
It could. It typically does.
It does.
And at that point, now they were raising the kid for 2 or 3 years. They were together.
But this goes to my point.
But it also goes to my point. In this situation here, right here, we have a lot of things that we like to make black or white and easily solve.
It's all nuanced. I agree.
Okay, very much nuanced.
Yeah.
At that point, then you're just telling us, I'll just throw this aspect of religion on top of it and it'll fix it. Or it'll mitigate. It'll mitigate it. It doesn't eliminate it. It just makes it less. You can't eliminate it. But it even makes it less likely, but they're still going to go through it. Once they go through it, what do you do?
But when you said a marriage was a great institution, right? Did that eliminate all divorce?
It was very low.
Well, right. So it's just, you're only talking about mitigation. You're only talking about mitigation.
It was actually lower than the percentages that you're showing me. Way lower.
I agree.
Way lower.
But you're still talking about mitigation.
But we're also talking about white people were least likely to get married under these scenarios too.
Yeah, but we're still talking about mitigation.
Exactly.
And so you say it's great and it's mitigating, and I say, okay, I want to move towards mitigation. We can never eliminate it. You can't hold that against me.
I can't, and you can't hold it against me for telling men to avoid the situation, especially since, and I'll add this on, especially since we can know statistically women are getting married at an older age. That is increasingly high. We can look at 40 years ago, it was 20 years old. We can look at today, it's roughly around 28 and 30.
But there's some nuance there too.
And there's a lot of nuance.
Well, hang on.
Hold on for a second, but I was completing the point here. Okay. At that point, you're seeing a lot of women choosing to not marry. You're also seeing a lot of men choosing to not marry those women that are older.
Yeah.
So how do you get those people to have an ecclesiastic marriage? I'll help you. When you're telling them, these people are saying, I'm not marrying that woman.
Yep.
She's a stepmom, or no, she's a single mom. She's older. She's past her prime. How are you getting that marriage rate up?
This is the best. So I think that's a great question. It's one
other than saying that they got to be virgin.
And it's one that I need, and it's one that I do need to answer to. So here's the answer to this. The reason that women are getting married older is because they're deferring their childbearing years for college. That's why.
Right. That's obvious. Okay.
Literally, that's the only reason. And one of the prime reasons that the birth rate is collapsing is because they're having children older because they defer those childbearing years.
Like I said,
later
that's not fruitful and multiply. It's just adding.
So we can look at this and we can, it is still multiply.
Okay, yeah.
The point is when we're talking about, we go back to this whole propaganda thing, right?
You're not going to get a disagreement on this.
Hang on. The idea is, should we have propaganda that says women, you go to school, we'll give you student loans, right? We'll back the entire thing for free, and we promise you a lucrative STEM career, right? When the opposition is actually true. Or do we run campaigns that say no STEM funding, you got to pay for your own fucking college, okay? Or you can choose the more traditional path.
How likely is this to happen?
It's actually pretty likely. If you look at the idea of STEM fund or funding for college, right? The idea of student loans and things like this, women are already trying to check out in the worst way because they can't have kids later in life.
They're not getting married though.
They do. They do college first. And this is, by the way, where body count comes from. The big body counts are coming because they spend all this time in college getting fucked.
Very obviously.
And so,
this is obvious.
Yes. And then afterwards, right, they get their little lucrative career and then they want to settle down.
They find us.
But it seems to me very obvious that if you wanted to do something about this, you would want to create the incentive for women to not go to college and instead use their childbearing years to get married, because that's what we always did.
I've actually created this scenario before, and it's very opposed to where society's going. Society really not showing that they're showing trends of this. You might have a little spatters here and there, but
you didn't start that though, Greg. Don't break your arm patting yourself on the back. You didn't start that. That has been the tradition. That's been the norm. This dude out here finding water. I discovered fire.
you have a woman that says, okay, I can't afford to go to college. She becomes a Walmart clerk. Hold on for a second. She becomes a Walmart clerk and assistant manager. I'm looking at those particular demographics. They're not jumping into marriages. All right, maybe in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, they're still out here ho-hopping. All right, they're still finding the right.
But here's why. So women are they're getting more college degrees than men because men have a viable option for making income, which is easy. Correct. I mean, it's actually harder, but it's easy. And for them, we can survive. And the idea is, if you're a tradesman, you're gonna make a lot of money. Okay, especially in modernity, because there's an incompetency crisis in the United States.
Absolutely.
So if you're good at what you do, you're gonna make a lot of money. And that's just it.
Women are less.
And even if you're bad at it, you'll make a lot of money. But the college thing created a situation we were not aware was going to happen, even though I could easily have predicted it, which is oversaturation. Mm-hmm. Women only go for a couple things, and they're sociological related mostly. Mm-hmm. They're not really for STEM fields, and that's who's hiring is the big STEM fields. Everything else oversaturated. Mm-hmm. That's why women end up in government NGOs and government think tanks and psychologists, because the overage has to go somewhere. But that's saturated too. So you're seeing actually a trend begin to emerge of that trending down because of oversaturation. So that's the case. These women don't want to go work at Walmart as the assistant manager, right? And if you had said propaganda plan, and the propaganda plan is simple enough, the idea here is just don't defer your childbearing years for college. Instead, we'll help you with incentives so that you have children younger and you get married younger. You will almost eliminate this entire problem. And yes, not only is it viable, but we should be moving towards that. This idea that you should get married rather than just create the conditions for which marriage is great is exactly what we should be doing.
And under those conditions, it would make sense because you're getting women that can multiply, that can.
But it's only the churches that can get this done.
No, not really. But in this situation here, I agree. I agree with that scenario. I proposed that many years ago. However, you're going to be hard pressed for women to actually pick that. Although they're not going to college, they're trending down in college. They're probably not going to complete one of these liberal arts degrees. What you're probably going to see them do, they're still going to Coachella. They're still selling coochie. They're out here being sugar babies. They're going to OnlyFans.
Same problem with oversaturation.
Yeah, exactly. So it'll get oversaturated. Now you kick the can down the road to what the next thing is. I don't see the women seeing that college is prohibitive to them jumping into traditional marriages. I don't see that.
But that was the same argument which made in the 90s to men, that they would not see that the trades were going by the wayside and they all needed to get a college degree, when in fact the opposite ended up happening. Now they're all moving towards trades in lieu of the college degree because of oversaturation. Right. There's no reason for us to believe that if it's the case that women have the option and the propaganda behind it, for them to get married at a younger age, right? Mm-hmm. Defer that with incentives. We can give all sorts of incentives.
Would you give?
Oh man, first of all, you can give tax exemptions. For instance, you could say
women don't pay taxes even when they make millions.
Yeah, but the thing that's
they don't catch up to them, but they don't pay the taxes.
They do have to pay property tax on the houses they get from their husbands when they divorce them. So
if they married,
the thing is what you could do is in Poland did this, and they had a pretty good degree of success, up almost 0.5%, moving and trending towards almost 1%, which is huge in such a short amount of time. They gave tax exemption, and you can pull this up if you want. They gave tax exemption if you had more than X number of children. I think it was 3 for life. Tax exemption for life. Yes. Now the thing is that's huge. Now from a woman's perspective, why would a woman go for that? Because she's tax exempt for life too. And the thing is, it's the same reason they're going to college, which is they want the money. The same reason they're selling their pussy online, because I want the money, is also a thing which you can incentivize them to do the other direction.
You could,
because they want the money.
It sounds nice, but
and it's worked. It's worked.
It's worked in Poland.
Yeah. Well, in the places it's been tried, the incentives work.
Is that a comparable nation to the United States, who highly depends on women being taxed?
Well, so did Poland.
It's not the same size.
Well,
and we were a very large company. We're a very large company.
It's all scalable, right?
It could be scalable.
It's all scalable.
That's kind of like when people said Sweden did this and about 1 million people versus.
But what I'm saying is,
people. I understand.
We're going to look at the models where they exist to see how they compare.
Yeah,
and then it's a better model.
Yes, it's a good model. It would be a good start.
It's a start.
It would be a good start. Do you think people would probably try to manipulate that? You said they have 3 kids from the same dad or from different.
You have to be married.
You would have to be married. Okay, so this would be a nice opportunity for us to bring something that Poland has tried to a place where we don't have that same structure. They're somewhat democratic socialists.
No,
or somewhat
not at all. They're very conservative.
They're conservative,
capitalist.
but yeah, they have that, but they're also
they're very capitalist.
Okay,
yeah.
So, but typically we're a lot more capitalist than them.
I don't know.
We're a lot more capitalist in Poland.
Like Eastern Europe has become very, very based. Eastern Europe has become
all right, but we can probably say 200, 350 million people versus Poland size.
It's much smaller, yes.
12 million.
But that's what scalability is for.
I mean, this would be the size, not even half of California at this particular point, but that you're scaling to.
Yeah, scalability works that way because it's good.
38 million in Poland.
38 million, quite more than I thought. That would be the state of California and plus Oregon, maybe, or something like that.
And California is bigger than a lot of countries.
It is.
That's the case.
Fifth largest GDP.
Yeah.
So in this scenario, I'll give you that one. It's a little bit of a reach, but I'll give it
not just that. If we look at the Chinese model, the Chinese model really fucked this up. They decided that they were going to do the one-child policy. Remember that?
And they screwed that up.
Well, not only did they screw it up, but they have almost given themselves imminent doom because their birth rate has dropped down so low. Now, what are they doing? They're giving incentives for women to have children.
Exactly.
Now, we do it here too, to a limited degree with tax credits, right? But the tax credits, you're not going to incentivize a woman who can sell her pussy on OnlyFans to have a child for $3,000 a year.
And sometimes they even go on EBT and WIC, and they still use the system. So you're still finding ways where people will manipulate the system. And
that's the whole point. That are asking manipulation,
that,
right?
We would try to get rid of it. It would be a nice try. I'll give you that one. That might be a
no. It's possible. It's more than possible, and it's better than the idea of just continual degeneracy.
Well, I'm not promoting degeneracy. However,
sex outside of marriage.
Well, who's that degenerate to? I mean, that's your Bible.
So
I mean, most of your Christians, your traditional. Hold on for a second. Let me. Most of your traditional Christian women that are getting married to these simps are blindsided, typically by women that were promiscuous. Is that right?
Like,
so that sounds like normal.
So sounds like sex out of marriage is bad.
It sounds like it's really bad, but those are your women you're trying to marry, not the virgins that we're going to have.
I think that this is mitigated by you being a secularist versus a Christian. Give me a break.
I mean, you're not going to mitigate women throwing their pussy around the internet or you can hardly mitigate that. I mean, you haven't done anything at this particular point. They're busting it wide open on OnlyFans.
Yeah, we can outlaw OnlyFans. You can outlaw OnlyFans.
I mean, every one of your scenarios is a big major swing at. They're not happening. All right, it's not happening.
Did you know that the people versus Larry, the people versus Larry Flint was not long ago when the normalization of it used to be outlawed. Okay, it used to be outlawed all over the United States, and guess what? The effects that it had on the psychology of men and the effects it had on marriage were negligible. You could still get it to some degree underground,
right?
But it was tough and it was illegal. Why do you think?
And people still went to the.
Why do you think?
Then you know how you fix it. You know how you fix it. You just tax it. Tax it at 80%. That'll fix it. That'll fix the OnlyFans problem.
But I don't know if you remember this if you're old enough. They still went to that VHS area or the area of the magazine.
That was after
all right, but that was a result. That was kind of
after they legalized it. Before they legalized it, those sections didn't exist.
Exactly. So now it's wide and open. It's in the open.
Yeah. So we need to eliminate it. Yes, we
didn't eliminate Playboy and Penthouse.
That's after Larry Flint. Larry Flint was Penthouse.
I understand that, but it's still here. I mean,
yeah, he won the case.
Correct.
But
so
we're
going to beat OnlyFans.
We're unwinding and have been unwinding. That's what Roe v. Wade was. The idea of Roe v. Wade was
by
to
the time
unwind.
you beat OnlyFans, the damage is done. I'm going to just let you know.
Yeah, you know what?
Right? The damage is pretty much done. That would take 30 or 40 years.
Okay, well, after a war, the damage is done. It might take 30 or 40 years. But you know what the thing is we don't quit because it might take some time.
I didn't ask you to quit. What I'm asking you is you're trying to solve the problem today of getting traditional.
Both. Today, tomorrow.
I understand that. Tomorrow will be a better day. But at this point, you're looking at traditional conservative women that have thrown their punanis out.
Sure.
Them are single moms.
Well, they're not traditional.
Right. But yeah, again, they're not. But this exists. And unfortunately, the traditional conservative movement
and it's full of feminists.
These women come in as feminists, liberals, and they cosplay, trick these men into marriages, say that they're going to marry them, not in the secular, and then they follow you, and then they run right back to the court. Now, this does happen quite a bit, even in the Christian church.
All of these are the same degenerate structured systems, which led us to where we are currently right this second, except you're just providing them for men instead of women. It's like, can't we at least at some level look at this and say, look, just because these crazy women are doing these insane things, we can actually, as men, do something about this prescriptively without adding the degeneracy. Can't we do that?
Okay, just because certain things line up.
It's just
the way you want. And you're cherry picking, by the way, and you're very good at it. You're cherry picking the good things, the bad things, and then you want to reframe traditionalism and call it the traditional church. Well, the traditional church also had the Ku Klux Klan in the 1950s.
No, that was
is that what you want to do?
Okay, Protestant church.
Okay, well, it's the church. And at that particular point, if you want to go ahead and cherry pick what's good and what's
bad. By the way, they were
that's
Democrats.
A great snatch.
Those were Democrats.
Exactly. And of course, they were Democrats. And certainly
not
what
Republicans.
Okay, well, now where are we at? There's going to be Democrats in your church? No Democrats.
Essentially. So there are some divorce.
Of course there will be.
Yeah.
So there are going to be people that have
but what does the KKK have to do with anything?
You're snapshotting traditional world that literally you can just pinpoint 10 years. Yeah. And if I go back 10 years before, it was not existent. You're
So what?
reaching, you're creating a pie in the sky. And then if I fast forward 15 years later, it don't exist. Now you're trying to bring it back out of the dead like you're Billy Graham. I know that doesn't exist.
What does
It is
exist?
not the normal traditional church. You're screenshotting things. You're picking out a period of history to say we need to take it back from here. That period was only a small percentage of
trying to give a holistic view, not just of
you're
the
giving
entire
a religious view,
not
not a
just
holistic view.
Well,
It's very
Look,
religious.
most of history is full of religion. I'm
and
sorry
a
to
whole
be
bunch of
very-
religious people killing people. But go ahead.
Wow.
Go ahead.
That accounts
Keep
for
it going.
That accounts
All right, a lot of people killing
So
each
that
other, a lot
accounts
of
to about
divorce and a lot of fornication. Go
about
ahead.
4 to 6% of all wars were religiously based.
How much?
4 to 6%. You can look it up.
All right, I don't care what. That doesn't matter. They kill each other at massive rates. All right, listen.
But so do
Religion is
secularists.
not the
4 to 6%.
You guys, you're
no,
trying to
degeneracy and feminism for
I
minutes.
didn't say it was. You didn't have to live degeneracy if you're non-religious. That's your world.
Yeah, I
Again,
know.
you always make it fit what you want.
Because it does fit. It is the
doesn't
truth.
fit.
That's what you guys advocate
You're
for.
only good if you're religious. That's ridiculous. All right, you only make good decisions because you're religious.
I think-
That's
seems-
ridiculous. That's what you hope.
Did I?
And that's not the case because a lot.
Okay, I think Andrew has. I think Andrew has limited his ability because I do believe Andrew believes that, and I agree. I think that you really make better decisions as a believer in Christ. I'm sorry, I just believe that. Now you're going to give me some ancillary outliers, but let's just be honest. I think Andrew has limited his ability to really get Greg because he didn't bring scripture to bear. Bring the scriptures into this discussion. Again, it's not the church. It's not the church's authority. It is the gospel's authority, and Christ is the head. That's what will change the heart of men from this desire to be, debased, or women the desire to take over the world, whatever. That's what will change it. And I think Andrew kind of limited himself by not bringing that into the conversation.
People that are in your
Why do you
church.
say
I'll go for a second.
only? Why do you say
Hold on,
only?
hold on.
When I
A lot of
talk
you
about
just-
outcomes being
You
better,
just
than-
admitted. You just admitted
Better.
that there are women that are feminists in your church.
Of course,
Okay, so there's your solution there. You're telling me
So
it's
what?
always better.
it
in
is
this
always better.
Snapshot. What you're doing is selling men a fantasy of them.
And you're selling them feminism.
I'm not. Well, we can
There
agree
you
to
are.
disagree on that.
Well,
But you're
no,
selling
agree
them a
to disagree,
fantasy.
you're just
Well,
selling them feminism.
and you're selling them a fantasy. All right,
A fantasy
that's
that I
not
have
gonna
data
exist.
to
Matter of
support.
fact, most people will be dead by the time you get even 1 inch closer to whatever you're proposing.
Well,
Most
under,
men will be dead as a doorknob.
under your
but under
proposal,
your
you have assured that black men will be dead. You said so yourself. There's no fixing it. They will be.
Right.
That's your prescription.
well, that's the prescription that you heard. What I told black men is to leave that community. The
Mhm.
community is not to
Are they
stay.
doomed or not? Like you said.
The black men leave the community, they thrive.
Yeah, I know.
Yes.
Are black men doomed? Like you said.
The
earlier,
black
or
men
not?
that leave the community, they thrive.
Yeah, I know.
They
But
do
are,
very well.
are black men doomed? Like you said earlier. or
Under the
not?
matriarchy of the black community, yes.
Okay.
Under the scenario that I'm proposing for black men, absolutely not. They thrive.
But that's in the future. What
But
about
that's
right now?
So that's
what about
no,
right
no,
now?
they're thriving right now under your degeneracy model. All right, they're
No,
thriving
no.
right now under the degeneracy. Oh, yes, they.
Who?
You're looking at one right
You're
now.
what?
You're looking at.
So wait a
one.
second.
So that's who.
So they
Man, thank y'all so much for tuning in. This is a very interesting debate. I don't even want to call it a true debate. I wanted to hear some solutions. I was hoping to hear some things that were encouraging. Shout out to Andrew. Shout out to Coach Greg. I know they're definitely in their realm. They're in their space. They're definitely feeding to their audiences and such of that nature. But I really don't feel like Coach Greg came prepared to bring any real solutions. He's anti-marriage. That's just it. And Andrew is pro-marriage. He wants people to get married. I don't see any way. I don't see any way around that. Coach Greg is anti-marriage, and I hate to say it, but he's pro-divorce. Like, he's pro just living your life, which is crazy work, but we'll see what happens. Let me know what you think. Comment down below. I know this was a long one, but I really do appreciate you hanging in there. Thank you so much for liking the video, commenting, subscribing. If you have not already, subscribe. We're still on our march to 100,000 subscribers. I really do appreciate y'all tapping in. Hype the video if you can do that. It really means a lot. Thank you so much. Until next time, everybody, grace and peace. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the JWhit Podcast. If you enjoyed today's show, please do me a favor and hit me up with that 3-piece special. Like the video, subscribe, and of course, share it with somebody who would also enjoy this type of content. And make sure you leave a comment because I do pin the best comments to the top. So thank you so much for tuning in today. And until next time, everybody, grace and peace.